Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you out of Hawthorne in South Australia, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 122. Hello out there, I'm your host Elliot J. O'Neill, and I'm joined by Pods.
In the key
of
Springfield.
Sprung that on us. Fucking hell.
I thought maybe we were all going to say Springfield together there. I thought that was going to be a nice moment. Didn't quite happen. So that's an ill portent, I think, for how the rest of this is going to go.
An ill, poor tent. It is a tent that is both ill and out of money.
We are actually recording out of a tent today.
The Hawthorne tent.
Yeah, Elliot really went cheap on the Airbnb.
Yep, I splurged all my money on Hallett Cove last time and had to really downscale this time.
If you live in Adelaide, that's a particularly funny sentence.
So yes, long-time listeners will know Pods in the Key of Springfield joined us in episode 98, I want to say, when
Yeah, give or take.
with BT.
Sure.
And now this is one of those times where, except when he's not, BT's not joining us.
That's because I was going to jump in and say, and always here except for when he's, what? But we still have a microphone for him.
We do.
It's so cute.
It's symbolic.
It is symbolic.
The symbolic microphone hanging in the empty chair with the empty headphones.
If
hanging
he
on
was
the chair.
dead, this would be a nice little thing.
I mean, it's pretty brutal for you to say it'd be nice if BT was dead. But
It would be a nice gesture if he was dead.
It'd be a nice little tribute
Yeah.
to BT if BT was posthumously no longer with us.
We're glad you're alive, buddy. So yes, James and Nick from Pods in the Key of Springfield.
Yes,
How are we
I'm
doing,
I'm
guys?
James. He is Nick.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm doing good. How are you,
Elliot. Hello.
Oh, I'm good and I'm excited and ready to do another episode of The Simpsons
Ready for
Index.
what will inevitably be the best episode of The Simpsons Index ever recorded. I'm calling it right here and now. It will be. We're going to make it happen.
Calling it very early.
Yeah. I'm setting expectations sky fucking high.
Okay. Point of order. A minute ago.
Point of order. Nick stinks. Ha! Already there.
Oh, fuck.
Swish.
Got me. A minute ago, you said it would be nice if BT was dead. Now you're saying that without BT, this is going to be the best episode of The Simpsons Index. I feel like BT is getting a pretty hard run here.
BT's fine.
No, BT's good. He's a good boy.
We like you, BT.
He's a good boy.
And joining us for The Simpsons Index is a podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time. There's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. And starting out tonight, we watched an episode from the HD era. This was Season 25, Episode 15, The War of Art. First released in March of 2014, it was directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Rob Lezebnik. In this episode, Lisa begs Homer and Marge for a guinea pig, and they get her a guinea pig, and then the guinea pig destroys the sailboat painting, which leads Marge and Homer into getting a new painting from the Van Houten's yard sale, which turns out to be a very pricey, valuable work of art. Guys, what do we think?
My main thing is, what happened to the guinea pig? Like, there was nothing at the end of the episode to tag back in on the guinea pig.
Oh, that guinea pig's dead.
Fuck.
They don't have a long life expectancy. It's entirely plausible.
Poor little BT. Little BT, the little guinea pig.
BT, the GP.
So I'd like to come right out the gate with a surprising and controversial opinion about this. The season 25 episode of The Simpsons. Kind of liked it. Thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I actually brought this episode to you because I realized when I was doing the episode selection that half of the episode you guys have reviewed for the Simpsons Index have been unanimous failures.
Well, we are grizzled fucks. Like, we don't like things as a general rule. We are angry young men.
That is a very good point. We are 12 angry men. Despite only
Divided
being
by 4.
Yeah, well, no, despite only being 2 men,
Yeah.
James and I are so angry.
Nick,
that
this is the third time you've brought up 12 Angry Men today.
I don't know why it's in my head. On the drive here, I mentioned 12 Angry Men a couple of
Have you
times.
seen the movie 12 Angry Men?
No, but I've been in a production of 12
Yeah, I
Angry Men.
know. I guess the listener doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah, I was a security guard.
He wasn't one of the angry men, though, wasn't he? He
No.
was just a security
Maybe
guard.
the least angry character in the whole thing.
Yeah, if anything, I was just curmudgeonly.
Well, yeah, so I didn't want to bring you guys any more sort of stinking failures. Yeah, for a HD era, this wasn't entirely unpleasant.
No, it was all right. I
Yeah.
mean, there are a couple of very HD era things that I didn't like that I'm sure we're going to get to.
Well, let's get into them. So starting out with the questionnaire, Nick, for better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
Okay, there was one bit where Homer kept saying "whoa,"
Whoa.
because
Whoa.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
but
like Uncharted.
not in a lovable Nathan Drake way. Just in a Marge said something. The joke was that Homer didn't like it, and it was I reckon 24 or 25. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It was not only their act break, but it was their coming back from the act break as well.
And so I turned to the two of you at that point and said, who actually enjoys these jokes? Like, who are they for? Because there are so many of them in the HD era. And look, I understand there's a pretty well-established comedy thing of if you do something heaps, it goes from being funny to not funny and then funny again. But that doesn't happen when it's just whoa, 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 whoa,
I don't think that applies when the first instance of it isn't kind of funny in and of itself. Like the rake gag from Cape Fear is funny because being hit in the face with a rake is pretty funny in and of itself.
Yeah, especially
just
if
saying
it's the pointy
whoa,
end.
it's not funny.
It's not funny unless you're Nathan Drake.
Yes.
And I've got a lot of bad opinions about Family Guy, but that episode where Peter trips and he hurts his knees and that's funny because it's also
because he hurts himself and it's funny when people are in pain. Yeah.
But also that specific pain where you go, it's very relatable. I did it before when I stubbed my toe.
Yes.
I know that feeling.
You did. So that's the moment that stands out for better or worse. It stands out for worse, Elliot. E-Train.
Thank you, and
Train.
I'm trying to think of another sort of train.
It would have been amazing.
And caboose.
It would have been amazing if you just said N-word and I was like, what?
Elliot in the Elliot Bay, maybe cut that.
N-Tram. With the fever on the dance floor.
So how about you, James? For better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
Well, the very first question that really came to me while watching this episode is, what is the nature of art? What does it mean for something to be art? Is The Simpsons art? These are the existential questions we have to ask ourselves, I think, when we're talking about an episode like this. But what really stood out to me about this episode of popular American animated sitcom The Simpsons, compared to a lot of episodes from this era, is that it actually has a plot and a story where I became relatively invested in seeing what was going to happen next. I actually kind of gave a shit about where it was going, what was going to happen, what the resolution was going to be. And this is an episode about adults. Once all that guinea pig shit gets out of the way, this is an episode about adults having like a problem that is actually kind of complicated and needing to work through it, and people having like different viewpoints and different understandings of what the issue is and needing to talk through it and discuss it. You know, it felt like it was written in a way that actually got me invested in what was happening and made me care about the case and made me consider where I would stand on this particular issue. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I particularly liked that when Homer decided that he was going to help Kirk figure out whether or not Kirk was the one that bought the painting, it seems like an altruistic thing to do until you realize that Homer's only doing it because that's actually better for him. I really enjoyed the way that was written, because it could have been someone else who decided to help Kirk, but Homer doing it in a way that only satisfies him. Yeah. It is much better written than a lot of the other
there's a certain like narrative complexity to this where they actually present something that is... There's at least some gray area in the narrative of this story about whether this painting that they have purchased very cheap from the Van Houtens, whether they intrinsically owe them some money. It's just like the plot of that bad Larry David film, Sour Grapes, but better than that.
Does he purchase some grapes that turn out to be expensive?
Well, this is about like there are two relatives in Vegas and one of them lends the other one $1 and he puts it in a machine and wins like $500,000. And there's this whole debate about whether he owes the other guy any of the money or not.
Yeah, he owes him $1.
Yes, that's what he says.
Yeah.
It's like the Jan Flatto case from Dumb People Town, where not a podcast that I particularly enjoy anymore. But
take that, Dumb People Town. Nobody's safe on the Simpsons Index.
Dumb People Town, population U.
Yeah.
We're coming for you next, Serial. Sarah Koenig, watch out.
Yes.
But yeah, the guy who loaned his girlfriend $50 to play the slot machine, she wins $50,000, and he's like, hey, but the casino's policy is the person who presses the button is the winner. And
yeah. Did I talk about the time that I was once at a casino and right, here's the deal. After a gig, I went to the Adelaide Casino. This is probably 11 years ago now. And we were on a blackjack table, but they weren't playing because some drunk guy had spilled an apple martini all over the playing surface.
Was it you, Nick?
It wasn't me. And they wouldn't let them play with a damp surface. So then we were just standing around and I was like, oh, this is weird. And then the dealer was being really rude to the drunk guy that spilled the stuff in like a kind of, because he was like, oh, come on, just fucking play. And I was like, well, I can't play because you spilled your fucking apple martini all over the table, you idiot. And I was like, this is entertaining. I'm going to sit around and watch. And then the guy, to me and my friends, he's like, hey, stick around because I really want to play. Stick around because I need someone to play with. And then he slipped us $50 under the table. And then they got a hairdryer, like literally a hairdryer, and started drying the table. But the drunk guy was so abusive that he ended up getting kicked out of the casino. And then me and my mate go, sweet, $53. We just got $50
Wow.
off this guy that got kicked out.
And then you
Perfect.
lost them all.
We drank them all.
Okay. You drank the money, you blended it up, and you poured it down your gullet.
Ooh, a cashtini.
We traded it for goods or services.
Okay. So you traded it for a
peanuts.
bunch of $1 coins and drank those.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
This guy's paying off.
And after I drank the coins, you could say that you could have seen a change in me. Could have seen change in me.
Ah, Nick, that was pretty solid. I'm not laughing, but I appreciated it.
Change. Okay.
Very good.
Change.
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed, the complexity of the argument and exploring the nuance of that grey area. And also later on in the episode, what stood out to me was the whole idea that the art was a forgery anyway. And then Mr. Ziegler, played by a guest star of the episode, Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow.
Is it Sydow or Sydow? Or?
Side out, I don't know.
You guys both appeared very excited when this guy came
Well,
up.
I
Who
really
is this
liked that
person?
scene where he handed the plans to Oscar Isaac and said, "This will make things right." And then Kylo Ren appeared and shot the laser, and he stopped it with his mind, and then he kills Max.
Oh, no.
Then the Force awakens, Nick. It awakens. We need to watch Star Wars.
Oh, God.
All 14 of them at this point.
What
he-
if you really like Star Wars, Nick?
I don't think that's going to happen.
It could.
I don't think it will.
Nick, he was also the father in The Exorcist, the priest father.
Okay.
The priest father.
Yep. As
Have
in
you seen The
father priest.
Exorcist?
No, but it's the one that Reagan. Reagan, she's the little
Yep, that's true.
demonic spew girl.
Yep, Vomitina.
Max von Sydow walks
Fontaine.
in and he hands her the plans for how to get rid of a demon and says, "This will start to make things right." Yep.
He was also in Minority Report.
Yep.
Pretty sure he had some plans in there.
Yeah, he saw the plans and said, "This is how we make things right, by killing people before they commit the crimes."
Except in Minority Report, wasn't it a series of floating screens that he controlled with his hands and handed to people?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I see.
He plays someone called Three-Eyed Raven in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he meets Bran, and I don't want to spoil Game of Thrones for people, but little Bran, he's got a little adventure with Max von Sydow.
Is that the one that went on to invent cereal?
You're thinking of Sarah Koenig.
No, I'm thinking of like All Bran. Anyway, whatever.
And
You think a guy called Bran invented cereal?
Yeah, named it after
and he
himself.
named the most boring one after himself?
Yeah. Well, you got to start. So, I mean, I think if you're inventing cereal, you don't invent Fruit Loops.
It was him, Greg Cornflakes, and Johnny Cocoa Pops.
oh yeah, that's right. Mr. Brand, he had that kid as well, Sultana, who started his own
Oh,
empire.
well, no, that was when one of his kids moved over and became a sultan.
Yeah.
And then his wife was Sultana Brand.
Oh, fucking cool.
He was actually, his surname was Pepper as well, and that's how we invented the concept of seasoning your food.
Shoop, badoop, shoop,
Yeah.
badoop, badoop, badoop.
Exactly.
All four of their kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so I liked the whole exploration of the, if an art piece moved you, even if it was a forgery, does that change it? And I'm still like, well, I mean, it does taint the memory of it. Like, you can't unknow that. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know, like an episode that actually deals with the complexities of what art is, even, I don't think it goes super deep into it, but it's interesting that it does anything at all with it.
Yeah.
Super deep, it goes super deep.
Super deep, yeah.
Well, especially like to me, the majority of the HD era episodes are, on the shell, it looks like something that resembles The Simpsons, but it's mostly hollow inside,
Having said that, I do feel like this episode does Marge a little dirty by not acknowledging the fact that part of her backstory is that she really wanted to be an artist,
Yeah.
and she is a talented artist. And I believe canonically she painted that painting that gets ruined at the start of the sailboat, didn't she?
It is established at some point, and like I seem to remember,
It's
Homer wanting to hawk it.
Mum and pop art, I think, that episode.
Yeah, that's right. And she like looks at it and is like, you had a lot of talent, kid. Man.
I'm Marge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic Marge.
I hung it on me wall.
And the point where the boat painting got ruined was, I believe, the last time that we saw anything to do with the fucking guinea pig that then disappears
Pokey the guinea
immediately
pig, which I
afterwards.
liked because I used to have a cat called Pokey, so I like the name Pokey.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, she was a sweet little cat.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was this ugly little creature, but I liked her. She was good.
Yeah, would you say she was a bit hokey? Would you say Pokey was a bit hokey?
I'd say she was a little hokey.
Yeah, fair
She
enough.
did the hokey pokey quite regularly. When she turned around, to me, that's what it was all about.
Very nicely done.
Play count. How many times before today have you seen this episode?
Was not even aware this episode existed.
Big old 0.
Yeah, I think I've seen this maybe twice before. Actually, my biggest memory of this episode is the scene where Homer first arrives onto Isla Verde and he's being spruiked the Stroppo, the alcohol in this,
Yeah.
made of blended capers, I think.
Yeah, they
that's
really
it.
went all out on that Streppo.
Yeah,
and it ended up being kind of funny, which is unusual for an episode from this era to like really double down on a joke and then for the joke to be kind of worth doubling down on.
Yeah. Oh, even like the episode tag at the end, the post-credit scene, it was just usually the biggest load of bullshit of any Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Little Stroppo documentary was good.
It's weird because that actually paid it all off for me, because when they kept doubling down on this weird alcoholic beverage made from fermented capers, they kept doubling down on it so much, and I was like, but it's not an inherently funny name. I don't really get where they're fucking going here. But then, yeah, the post-credit payoff sequence actually made it work.
I like that the slogan for this drink is apparently Streppo, lose everything.
Yeah.
Because you got to lose yourself in the music the moment you got to never let it go. You only get one shot to not miss your chance to flow.
Streppo?
Because opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. That's my opinion. And that's what I think about drinking.
All right, thank you.
You look exhausted.
Lose everything is a very good slogan for a spirit.
Yes.
So with the way I watch the HD era episodes is by downloading perfectly legal files, and on every season 26 they have like the Tonight on Fox bumpers, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Family Guy. And the one for The Simpsons that's on all my season 26 episodes is Homer going, when he originally gets handed the Stroppo, and he's like, sounds delicious. It's not. That's a good line delivery.
It's fine. It's good.
It was a better delivery than I expected, because I thought they were going to like really overplay it, but they came out quite understated and I liked it.
Yeah. There is actually a bit more about this episode that's a bit understated, but yeah, the overt moments like the whoa, and even like
Whoa, 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 whoa.
and even like Kirk's blushing moment when
Yeah. Yeah,
Man.
they don't overplay that too much.
We only just watched this and it already feels like such a distant memory to me. And I enjoyed that when you started saying how I watched season 26, and I was going to jump in and be like, through gritted teeth and squinting eyes, like, because that's how I seem to be doing it.
Yep.
This wasn't that bad though.
This is season 25, though, isn't it?
Yep, but tomorrow with another podcast, we will be watching a season 26 episode.
Oh, God.
More on that later. But for now, let's talk about the wackiness. What are some of the cartoony elements of this episode that stood out to you guys?
This one, it didn't feel as wacky as I expected, honestly. It feels relatively grounded in a lot of ways. Like, right at the start, Lisa is actually acting very childish in a way. Like I've often said on our podcast, Pods in the Key of Springfield, don't forget to subscribe and rate on iTunes, that...
Smash that fucking notification bell.
Exactly. I really like it when they let the kids be kids, and I feel like there was a lot of that very early on. I don't know, like nothing's really jumping out to me as super wacky in this one.
There was another one of those extended moments with her like jumping around to all the guinea pigs, like, and as much as that did drag, I was like, yeah, Yardley's actually really killing the whole the kid vibe. She's really getting into it. And
there was one line delivery in particular. She went up to one of the guinea pigs and says like, "It's so fluffy," but with a really childish laugh. Like she broke
it's
up.
So fluffy.
Its fur is so thick. But breaking up one of the words with a childlike laugh, that was a very, very, very good delivery.
yeah.
As far as wacky things go, I actually think the entire guinea pig setup is an extremely wacky thing, just in terms of the only reason we had the guinea pig setup, which was the first fucking third of the episode, was so that the painting could get broken and they have to find a new painting, and then we never saw or heard from the guinea pig ever again.
Yeah, it appears on her shoulder a couple of times, but as a major story point way, no.
I also think the guinea pig was drawn alarmingly non-cute.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they could have made it a much cuter guinea pig.
It had charm. That was a nice, charming little pokey pig.
Pokey pig?
Yeah, looking at my...
Yibbida.
Yes, exactly.
Rex Hunt doing Pokey the pig.
Looking at my notes, the only thing that really stands out to me is like a scene that was pretty wacky, I guess, that I actually quite liked, was when they get to that island at the end and there's the warm Speedo vendor just handing out warm Speedos. I mean, look, my underpants are constantly very warm because I'm a sick man, but it's...
So the only thing like wackiness I would say is that it kind of moves through some of the story beats a bit too quickly, like the whole Milhouse finding out before his parents did about the expensive art, and like Homer and Marge trying to buy him off.
Yes.
Like it is literally the next scene that they find out.
Yeah, and I find it very weird, and maybe this is just because of some things that have been happening in the Australian courts this week, but the idea of adults trying to buy the silence of a child, that didn't sit well with me.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't sit well with me anymore. How you going, Cardinal Pell?
Hey, Cardinal Bell, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I think that's about it for the wackiness. How about some of the heart moments? Was this a particularly heartfelt episode of the episode index?
Surprisingly, yes. There was some stuff in here, like jumping forward a little bit, like the way this ends, where Homer commissions the forgery artist to like paint the new boat, but also like when he gets the picture of the Van Houtens at the end.
Yeah.
And what's her face? Mrs. Van Houten unwraps it and looks at it and like, you know, they kind of reunite. I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
This is genuinely nice. This is like based on like real character moments and actual emotional depth. It was nice. It was a nice episode.
I somehow completely missed the story beat that it was Homer that commissioned the portrait of the Van Houtens, which makes that moment much more sweet. Because when I saw whatever her name is, Milhouse's mum, when she unwrapped it and then was like, oh, it's a portrait of us, I was like, that's weird. Kirk wasn't on the island. How did he get this done? But if it was Homer, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, because a lot of the episode is about like Homer trying to justify potentially screwing over the Van Houtens.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's this nice gesture at the end.
Nice gesture.
And it reunites everyone and it genuinely works.
Yeah.
What a solid episode.
I would have felt a little bit more heart, though, if he also commissioned the jukebox painting as well.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on with that, whether that was a commission or what he... I suppose if people haven't seen the episode, they have no idea what we're talking about there. It's not really worth explaining, though.
No, I have to assume that people have seen the episode. Otherwise, yeah.
They haven't, though.
They haven't.
Yeah. Otherwise, the podcast would be, 3 hours, which is how long we're going to make it anyway.
Yeah.
And like I said, like Lisa being a kid is really nice, just, running around being childish.
Which one's Lisa?
She's the little girl, but not the really little girl, like the middle little girl.
The middle little girl.
Middle little.
Yeah, right.
She's the Jan Brady, I guess. No, yeah, Jan. Jan's the middle one, right?
Yep.
Because you got Marsha, you got Cindy.
And then you got Jan in the middle.
Yeah.
Then you got Alice. And you got Carol.
You got all the kids.
Alice is in the middle.
Alice in the middle?
Oh, she's in the middle of the 9 frame, yes.
Yeah.
I'm calling that a 9 frame. It's a word I just invented.
Has anyone done a Brady Bunch Rubik's Cube? Oh, I suppose all sides would be the same.
Imagine a Brady Bunch Rubik's Cube.
You got to match up the people who are fucking each other.
No, because it'd be one of those things. So the credit sequence was them just like periodically changing expressions and like looking down and looking across and looking up and looking to the left and looking to the right. It'd be that. So you need to line up like all the left lookings and all the right lookings and all the down
It's
lookings.
the story of a bunch of people who are living in a really big house.
Oh, I really want you to say who were plastered on all sides of a cube.
So ultimately, though, guys, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
It kind of did.
Yeah, I feel like there's a knee-jerk reaction sometimes to say that the HD episodes don't, but for me, this one actually did.
Yeah. I know, like, one of the things that you often mention on your podcast, The Simpsons Index, don't forget to subscribe and like.
It's the online podcast that is also
you
a podcast.
You often mention that, like, regardless of how far the show goes, like, the sign gags remain very good.
Oh, for real.
There's a lot of, like, pretending to read magazine. Homer's reading at some point. There's a supermarket they go to called Pay and Leave Supermarket, which I really like.
That's very good.
That's all very Simpsons-y, but also just, the characters felt like the characters in this one.
Yeah.
Which is often not the case in the later seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, we hit a couple of touch points of, like, annoying HD trends, like the repetitive jokes and stuff, but, like...
And they did forget that Marge is an artist, which bothered me, but other than that...
Yeah. On the whole, the character integrity, like... No one was being awful versions of the characters we've come to know and love. And
I was very surprised to hear Luann, that's her name. I was very surprised to hear Luann's voice. It feels very different to the voices that are... Yeah.
I think you said it as well in the episode, James. Like, you forget that they're aged sometimes.
There's a news chyron at some point that says brush with hateness, which I take as a nice reference to brush with greatness, the earlier episode. I hung it on me wall. I'm Ringo, by the way. Thomas the Tank Engine was having a very hard day.
Out.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sometimes I don't say words so good, Nick.
Thomas the Tank Engine was having a very thick day.
Thomas the Tank Engine was so thick. God damn it.
It's your turn, Percy.
Sound like that.
The fat controller was extremely thick.
He was.
He spelt it with 2 C's and no K.
Oh, God.
Is Kirk's ex in this episode meant to be the one who is changing wigs back in A Millhouse Divided?
Oh, Stella.
Yeah.
Starla.
Starla.
They looked very different. To use this again, Starla was a bit thicker. Like
She looked like one of the Vegas wives from whatever episode
I
that
thought
was.
that too.
Yeah.
Except that wasn't Kirk. It was Homer and Flanders.
Homer
wasn't
and
it?
Flanders.
Homer and Flanders.
No Flanders in this episode
No
at
Flanders
all.
at all.
Landerless. But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
I think I might actually. Mostly to find out what happened to the guinea pig because I'm annoyed that I didn't see a resolution for the guinea pig story.
I would not object to watching again. Like, I don't know. I don't know the context of where I would find myself watching this again, but if it was on TV, I'd say to whoever I was with, hey, this episode's all right. Why don't we watch it? Huh? What are you so afraid of? And they'll say, well, it's the latest season episode, James. I don't know. I'll say, hey, I've seen it before. I think it's pretty good. And then they'd watch it and say, James, you have good taste, impeccable taste, and I'm impressed by this display of it. Let's elope. So, yeah, I like this one.
All right.
And we often say if we'd watch it again...
Elliot,
maybe
would you watch it again?
Yeah, I'd watch it again. It certainly passes the hangover test, which is like the lowest point of...
In that it is better than The Hangover Part 3.
Very good.
Very good.
Bradley Cooper was not in it, though.
Wasn't he?
No. No, I mean in this episode.
Oh, right.
Hey, I just want to get another look at you. Have you seen A Star Is Born?
No.
It's pretty good.
Really?
It's legitimately good. I really liked it.
It looks like such... Like,
No, but it really works. It's good. I didn't expect much, but Bradley Cooper's really good in it. Lady Gaga's great.
What about A Star Is Burns?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, all right. That's an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, yes, the show that we're discussing today.
What?
Yeah, so we'd watch this episode again. Maybe we'd watch it in the context of a playlist. What playlist would this belong in?
Simpsons Pets.
Yeah.
I put in one of the... Is there a Van Houten playlist we got going? This
Sure.
and like a Millhouse Divided and all... Because, Kirk Van Houten, I think, is a sneaky underrated character of this show.
Yeah.
I think these playlists are mostly theoretical. Elliot doesn't actually have a bank of playlists, but I like the way you ask permission.
Can I include it in this list?
Elliot, is there room in the Van Houten list for one more episode?
Oh, I guess we'll just squeeze it in there.
we'll make space.
There's a few episodes about art. I guess you could put it in there. There's like
Yeah.
Mum and Pop Art, Brush with Greatness. This
Yeah.
one, I hung it on my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that going to be the name of that playlist? The I Hungered on Me Wall
I hung it
playlist?
on my wall.
Excellent.
Thomas. Yes. Peace and love, peace and love.
Nick, what would you like to change about this episode?
I've been thinking about how I can change the episode and how I can get a resolution to the guinea pig plot. I think that the guinea pig should run away and Lisa should be sad and then Homer commissions a portrait of the guinea pig as well.
Oh.
I think that would give
Well, that's
resolution
nice.
to the guinea pig story and it would also tie in with Homer being nice in commissioning portraits for people.
Yeah.
It'd be sad for the guinea pig to run away and we can only assume be killed. But, the portrait wouldn't need to be of the moment at which the guinea pig was killed by the tire of a Jeep. It could just be like a nice little portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
Sure.
that.
that's what I'd change.
How about you, James? What would you like to change?
I would make Marge's artistic leanings more integral to the story. I think leaving that out is the major oversight of the episode. I've often said on our podcast, Pods in the Key of Springfield, don't forget to like and subscribe, that Marge gets short shrift in some of these episodes. Isn't given as much, value and agency as I would like. I think this episode, it's a good episode for Marge, but I would like them to acknowledge this huge element of her past that somehow just slips under the radar and is forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because I like Marge. She's good. The closest character to my age in The Simpsons at the moment, and this means that right now I identify with her very heavily despite living a very different life to her.
Yeah.
So I always like it when Marge is given stuff to do in The Simpsons.
I feel like that was two alarmingly concise answers to the what would you change about this pod. Because often that section can be a little sprawling as people try to work it out.
But this episode's actually quite good, so it's not that
quite
much.
good.
Yeah.
And Elliot?
Yeah, I've been trying to think long and hard because, it's not a perfect episode by any measure. The things I'd change is, a lot of those, dragging out moments.
That can fuck off. The whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. But even then, there's only a few of them, and
Yeah.
they're bad, but I don't know.
The thing that I find perhaps strangest about the whoas, which I didn't mention before, is especially in the whoa, it was like, okay, this is clearly fucking filler. This episode must be running short. And then after the episode ends, we get another 90-second tag where they explain the history of the Strupo liqueur. And so it's like, fuck, how short was this episode that you had to put in like a minute-long filler repetition gag and then still have a minute and a half to fill at the end? Like, it feels bonkers to me that that's the case.
Well, and that sort of comes in my problem with it is that it does move through the plot beats a lot really quickly, and they could have existed
More
in those...
quick than it has to.
Yeah. Well, they could have existed in a few of the moments a bit longer. And the idea that Homer's greed is putting a strain on the Van Houten's marriage, but I also don't think there was the connection there when Kirk's old floozy comes back to town. I mean, Luann should be pissed at Kirk for lying, but also they were divorced. She was with Pyro and Gyro. I mean,
Yeah, it's a little perfunctory.
Yeah, she's not the angel of the relationship pissing Strappo. I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
She's not the angel of the relationship pissing Strappo.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's a saying.
That's what I've always said.
Damn you Eastern States people. And
Oh, she's no pissing angel, that's for sure. Peace and love, peace and love.
Oh, all right.
Oh, all right then. I'll just go and piss over here then, shall I?
Piss over here then, shall I?
Nick, any other notes?
Yes, a couple. An alarming... Jackal, I took more notes
that's
for this
unusual for you.
than we do for a normal episode of Pods of the Key of Springfield.
Frustrating, frankly, but yeah.
Please forget to like and subscribe. My final notes are when Homer burns a series of violins and then uses the bows to roast marshmallows, they would be rosin-infected marshmallows, and that wouldn't taste very nice.
There was one of those Simpsons writers, I just learnt this word jokes where Homer does originally pick up the bows and goes, cello rosin.
Yeah.
And it's
when they're eating dinner, everyone has a plate that's full of stuff, and then in the middle of the table, there's a plate that has about 6 chops on it. I feel like Marge cooked too many chops.
Yeah, calm down, Marge.
too many chops, too many chops.
Family is like a soup. Everyone adds an extra scoop.
We see Richard Branson floating in space, admiring an artwork that's floating next to him, which I really enjoyed as a weird thing. And then my final note was, who's this grizzled fuck? But we've already discussed that because the two of you seemed happy when that guest star arrived.
Yeah, until Kylo Ren came along and killed him. Little spoiler for a movie that everyone has seen except Nick.
Yeah.
James, any other notes?
I've actually got quite a few because this is what I do. I write a lot of notes. Well, I'll try to race through them.
You got that A4 paper filled up.
I'm all about that A4, baby. Yardley Smith is really good early on. Just a little note. Good work, Yardley. They draw up a contract for Lisa at the start, and I like that the contract has a clause about if the guinea pig becomes famous on the internet, then the rights revert back to the parents.
Yep.
Because, I don't know, I feel like that's the main reason people get pets now, isn't it? To try to make them internet famous.
Yeah, absolutely. What Homer skips over a few pages and says boilerplate? What's that mean?
Oh, yeah, okay. So boilerplate is common terminology in contracts for the kind of clauses that appear in every contract. I think it comes from boiler making, as in there are just literally plates that you weld and rivet into things, and they're standardized. So the kind of clauses that say, throughout this contract, he can also mean she, and, references to singular can include references to plural, all that typical kind of it's in every contract to avoid confusion, boilerplate. So you don't need to explain them in as much detail as you do the custom clauses.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good times.
Legal corner.
There was I've got a
Next
note.
legal corner!
I've got a note fairly early on here that just says, I have not laughed yet, but I am not angry. Oh, I just chuckled. So that was a nice little moment from early on.
I love the live written react there.
It's like a little haiku.
Homer's got a line early on that I liked where he said, that's what's great about art. Everyone can have different opinions about why it sucks. Absolutely.
That resonated with me.
Yeah, I knew it would. And then moments later, he says that great art is about something terrible happening to Jesus, which is a pretty funny line. Pretty funny, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because when I went to the Louvre with my family, and it was the most frustrating thing because they wanted to stop and look at everything, and I'm like, guys, this place is huge. Let's fucking go to the Mona Lisa right now while it's still early. And they wanted to
Before
look at...
she has to leave.
She only does performances twice a day.
I also enjoy let's go look at the Mona Lisa while it's still early. Mate, it's 600 years old or whatever. It is not early in the context of...
Yeah, there's a lot of just very specific dialogue about just what it's like to be an adult and have other adult friends and for everything to be a bit weird. At one point, Homer says, when they were trying to hide everything with the Van Houtens, we were going to treat you to dinner at an upscale chain restaurant and never explain why.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a specific, nice line.
Just jumping back to the loo for the moment, I love the idea of you being really angry at your family because they're like, oh no, Elliot, we're going to take time to look at everything. So if you don't mind, we'll just, and they gesture at the wall and you're like, that's the you are here map, you fucking idiots. The red dot, it signifies nothing other than your location relative to the rest of the building. Can we go?
But I was justified. I got to see the Mona Lisa up close. They had to fucking wade through the people.
Is that Mona Lisa justified?
Justified. And then the last note that I'm going to mention here is I like the scene where people start throwing rocks through the Simpsons window.
Yeah.
And the first one has an insult tied to it. Then the next one is a support rock. That's a fun little thing.
Yeah.
It's fun when fun things happen. That's my opinion. Peace and love. Peace and love.
That was good. I wasn't a huge fan of then cut to a huge pile of rocks. This one's for us. This one's against us. This one's against us. This one's against us. This one's for us. This one's for us. We get it.
Whoa.
Jumping back to how we have changed it, I would have preferred 2 huge piles of paper and then, well, that's 37 for us and 37 against. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't need to see the counting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was set up great either because they just watched the news report. They had one rock thrown in and Marge is like, the whole town's against us.
Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, it was saved by that
It's a consensus rock. The town has voted. We can see the signatures here at the bottom.
All right, it's time for my final notes.
Elliot's final notes.
Elliot's final notes.
Elliot's final notes.
Prepare yourself for Elliot's final notes.
Oh, I'm fucking prepared.
Oh, you fucking better be.
Yeah, well, I am.
What are you
right?
looking at me that way for?
Calm down.
You trying to start something here?
James, I'm trying to start Elliot's final notes segment.
Nick?
Yes.
I apologize. My tone was inappropriate. And I also want to hear Elliot's final notes.
Let's stop making eye contact and we'll both look at Elliot.
I just hope that we can continue our great friendship after this argument.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Okay, no, 3, 2, 1. Elliot.
I was reasonably impressed where Homer, I thought he was going to make a Leonardo da Vinci as DiCaprio joke, but he went with Leonardo da Vinci Code.
Yep.
Not bad.
Yep.
Because I'm fucking sick of the Leonardo DiCaprio.
I didn't realize that was
Wait,
a
you didn't like The
subgenre.
Revenant?
I didn't realize that was a subgenre of joke.
Yeah, doing the whole, Leonardo DiCaprio painting the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, okay. I'd find it much more interesting if it was Leonardo da Vinci in The Revenant trying to use one of his fucked helicopters to get away from the bear.
Mamma mia. He's got like that paraglider from Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
trying to outrun the bear. I'm Hugh Glass.
Luann mentions that they went to a lot of banana fits together. Are they a thing?
Banana fits.
Oh,
Like benefits with
yeah,
bananas?
Banana fits.
It was
Banana fits.
friends with banana fits.
Oh, that's what it was.
So she said that they were friends with banana fits, which is an
I assume it's mentioned is about his dick.
is dick.
Oh, right.
His
Yeah.
dick.
Oh, because it's yellow and bent.
Yes. Ooh,
Yeah.
it is yellow, isn't it?
It will be yellow.
We've seen one dick.
One
it was yellow.
Simpson dick, and it was yellow.
And we've seen some breasts, unfortunately, because you bought me that issue of Playboy.
Oh my god, I was going to ask you to bring that today. I needed to.
Thank God you didn't.
I now have 2 issues of that because one didn't arrive in time, so I ordered the second, and then it rocked up. So I have 2 issues of one
Both
of them
in Croatian?
One of them, yeah,
It's
both
maybe
in
the
Croatian.
worst magazine ever published.
Yeah, for anyone who's not up to speed, this is the issue of Playboy that Marge was in.
We talk
Yeah.
about it in the January Christmas episode of our podcast, Pleasant Kid Springfield.
The traditional...
Yeah, as we always celebrate Christmas in January.
Which, by the way, I
Yes.
listened to episode 1 of our podcast last night because someone was talking to me about it, and we started recording very, very early on. We recorded in January, and it was a Christmas episode, Simpsons roasting on an open fire. And Christmas in January is a theme that runs through our podcast.
Kind of is, isn't
Kind
it?
of is. But anyway, yes, the magazine's horrifying. Thank you for asking, Elliot.
Do
Yeah.
not buy coffee.
Well, I mean, I do have a copy, but mine's in English.
Well,
I wanted
throw
to
it
see
out.
Boring. Don't have it in English.
Yeah, that's all my notes. It's time to rank this thing
Rank this thing.
on the Simpsons
Ooh,
Index.
I'm going to rank this thing. Ooh,
Easy
right.
now.
I'll just go and rank it over here then, shall I?
On
Not
the-
worth explaining that joke.
On the Simpsons Index, we use a 5-point ranking system that
it's
goes
6.
from 6.
On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode is just meh or smeh,
Snah.
Snare.
You give it a participant, but for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I'm giving this one a bronze. It was close to edging on a silver, but the overall vibe of it to me was positive, but it still had some hallmarks of HD crap that I don't like, so bronze. Nick, you're next.
This is one of those things where I need to keep conscious that to keep the integrity of the spreadsheet, which is something that I'm always concerned about doing. To keep the integrity of the spreadsheet, I need to vote for me, not for what I want the outcome to be. So I'm also going to say bronze. Ideally, no, I don't want to influence James. Ideally, I would have liked it to end up shinier than that, but I think it's going to end up bronze for me, for my enjoyment.
Well, I can't tell you how to rank, but the philosophy I go with is, vote for yourself, vote for your gut, and whatever the average ends up being is
what it is.
James.
I've given this one a lot of thought. I've been, percolating in my mind over this time. And
like coffee.
Exactly like coffee. My initial instinct was to go bronze. As I thought, this is I've enjoyed this quite a bit, but it is like it has the trappings of like a later period Simpsons. And I started to think about it more and more, and I thought, well, by the standards of what later Simpsons is and what it became, I think this is a very strong episode. And I think it's an episode that keeps track of what The Simpsons is and why The Simpsons is good. And like there is a very strong glimmer of what makes this show worthwhile and maybe what it could have been if it had maintained a level of quality over 25 seasons. Like, for an episode in season 25 of any show, this is extremely strong. Even though, most episodes of this era are quite bad. And I'm thinking, in terms of the episodes from this era I have seen, this has to be one of the better ones. This has to be like a very good example of this era of The Simpsons. And I liked it, and it was adult, and it was well written.
Are you building up to cubic zirconia?
No, I'm building up to silver here. I'm going to give it a silver.
Fuck yeah.
And it's just scraping through on silver. But, just following my heart here, I think bronze wouldn't quite convey the fact that I actually liked this quite a bit. It wasn't just like it wasn't just me accepting, oh yeah, this is not bad. Like, I actually think this is a good episode of television. So I'm giving it silver.
Good. I'm very glad that it ended up being shiny bronze.
A chunky bronze.
And this will end up being a shiny, chunky bronze. So, season 25 was the only season that we've had so far to have never gotten a positive ranking. So, this has broken the season 25 curse.
Yeah, right. Out of how many episodes that you've done from 25?
11, I want to say.
So 11?
It's 11. Yep, 11 episodes so far.
Is 25 the season with the Lego episode as well?
Yes.
Because that's quite good. I like that episode. Did you not like it?
We ranked it unanimous participant. It looked good, but like the story was fucking...
I like that episode.
That's discussions. No, I mean, a lot of people do, but yeah.
It's sweet. It's nice.
Yeah, but it also, the story kind of sucks.
That's fine. I don't care.
So this will be a shiny bronze all around. It'll be joining other such shiny bronzes as the Saga of Carl, where we find out Carl is...
I like that episode.
Icelandic. Yeah, that's a surprisingly good one. Barthood, where they like skip through Bart's life every few years.
I hate that episode. It's terrible.
Really?
I like Boyhood so much.
All right.
We can talk about that off air.
And also there will be Buds, where Kirk tries to be friends with Homer because their kids are all playing lacrosse together.
And then there's the oil fields and... You haven't seen There Will Be Blood?
No.
Okay.
See, I'm actually somewhere between you and Nick with my film watching, where there's like some serious gaps, but overall I enjoy the medium.
Yes. That's a pretty good
You have a milkshake, and I have a milkshake, and my straw stretches all the way across the room into your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. You haven't seen that? No. Great.
That was a very...
I drink it up. Don't bully me, Daniel. What a movie.
That was an astonishing performance.
Thank you.
For something I have no context on.
All right, and before we move on, is that reputation justified?
Oh, hang on a second. I've got a sting.
Oh, really? So do I.
Yeah, because... Oh, well, hang on.
Your sting first.
Have you got a recorded BT?
Is that reputation justified?
See, because I didn't know whether or not we were going to... Because obviously BT's not here, so
Yeah.
I did...
Is that reputation justified?
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd also like to ask whether the reputation's justified.
Wait, you haven't got a pre-recorded version of you asking?
No.
Oh, all right.
Tony Sokol of Denner Geek.
Hang on, has BT got a nickname for him?
No, he's actually one that we don't reference that much.
All right, well, hang on. In the absence of BT, if you can just take that again and I'll do like a BT-style nickname sting for it.
Gotcha. Tony Sokol of Den of Geek.
The Snorkeling Sokol.
He gave this episode 4 out of 5 stars.
Oh, fuck. I've got a better one. Can we go again?
Tony Sokol of Den of Geek.
So-called Tony. The Snorkeler.
Jesus.
He said, I've said before and I'll say it again, that The Simpsons towers over all current TV sitcoms. That the worst episode of Simpsons will still have more laughs per minute than the best episode of, say, Modern Family.
Oh, that's not true.
No.
I mean, I don't like Modern Family, but I also don't like Modern Simpsons. See what I did?
Like it.
Yeah.
And also Dennis Perkins of the AV Club.
Ah, Dennis the Feather Touch Perkins.
The wild
The
card.
one that Yardley Smith recently attacked on Twitter.
Really?
Did you see that?
No.
We'll talk about that later.
Turns out Yardley's the real wild card the whole time. Dennis the wild card Perkins. If you can just edit together all those things I flubbed and make them make sense, that'd be great. Dennis the edit per card. Yardley's flubbed Perkins. If you can sense, that'd be great.
He gave this episode a B, and for the AV Club, that's actually roughly where we went on it as well.
Right, okay.
So he said, this episode is like early Simpsons on an off day, pleasantly forgettable, except that if the old show had a bad week, it was a safe bet that the next episode would be better. Now, there's a disheartening sense that the episode of quiet competence without any major missteps will have to suffice.
Bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I feel like those HD reviews were probably closer in line than they normally are on this show, because normally we'll pan it and then they go, fucking how good's this, give it the Emmy or whatever it is the award for TV is.
No, that's why we call Dennis Perkins the wild card. We're never sure if we agree with him or not.
And who's the Feather Touch?
Robert Canning.
Robert the Feather Touch Canning, of course. I really am imagining, like, remember that show in the late 90s, early 2000s that was like claymation celebrity cage death matches?
Oh, Celebrity Deathmatch.
Celebrity Deathmatch. I'm imagining all of these various reviewers going head to head, but I don't know what any of them look like. I'm just imagining BT doing the voiceover for it all.
All right, it is time for the Teens Era episode where we're going to Season 14's The Bart of War. We'll be back.
Fuck,
Isn't that the same as the one we just watched?
No, that was the War of Art.
the War of Art and now the Bart of War.
I'm noticing a theme.
Are we going to
here.
play God of War after this?
Boy. And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode, and this was Season 14, Episode 21, The Bart of War. First released in May of '03, it was directed by Michael Polcino, written by Mark Wilmore. In this episode, Bart and Milhouse sneak into Flanders' house and find his Beatles memorabilia collection, and they really destroy it. And so as punishment, they get sent to Boy Scout groups.
Racism camp.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, guys, what'd you think?
This sucks. This is bad and it's racist, and they should feel bad that they made it and they should be punished for it.
Yeah.
So this was 2003?
Ort 3, yes.
Ort 3, so it's one of yours, because it's the early Orts.
Yeah. Me being early Ort J. O'Neill.
Early Ort J. O'Neill. Starts with a South Park parody.
Yeah, take that, South Park.
It's been so long since South Park has been a thing that I've experienced that I was looking at the Simpsons South Park going, is that what it looks like? I can barely remember anymore.
And the joke of the South Park parody is that a robot has O.J. Simpson up its butt.
Yeah, so they're taking on South Park with their lol so random, celebrity, because I felt like South Park actually did do that in the early days where they just pick a random C-list celebrity and just go hard on them, like Sally Struthers, Barbra Streisand.
O.J. Simpson on equal par with those people.
But yeah, in this parody, this actually felt more like making fun of Family Guy, whereas South Park, I think, had a lot more sort of sophisticated story structure than they were giving them credit for.
Yeah, fewer robots fighting out OJ.
Yeah.
In the actual show, I think. I'm not 100% on that. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Been a while.
Yeah.
As someone who owned the Stained album that had It's Been a While on it, it is astonishing to me that song has come back into the zeitgeist in such a strong way, because I reckon there was about 15 years where I genuinely think I was one of 4 people in the world that remembered that song.
I think it's largely on Scott Aukerman that it's come back.
I completely agree, but it's astonishing that it has. When I started hearing people say it, I was like, wait, track 3 off that album, Break the Cycle by Stained. Fuck.
Elliot, are you planning on getting Scott Aukerman on this podcast?
I'm always trying.
Get Scott Aukerman and Paul F. Tompkins, maybe.
That'd be
maybe
the dream.
Lauren Lapkus.
Yeah.
We've only ever had Scotch Octopus and Paul F. Pumpkins.
Yeah, PFT in the background the whole time, just Lou's like,
All right, well, let's fucking hook into this
do we
garbage
have to?
fire.
Can we just talk about something else?
I'm sure we will. I feel like this will be one of those ones where I have to keep riding the ship on the course that I don't want to. James, for better or worse, what's something about this episode that stands out to you?
This episode is racist. It is bad. I don't know, like even the basic stuff, like referring to the Native Americans as Indians throughout, is, you know, and there's one joke in here where Apu sort of ironically points out that they are reappropriating basically a culture that has been destroyed by white America. And Marge's like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. And then it just sort of carries on without any further commentary on. It's like somebody with a little more thought, like did one pass on the script and made a handful of changes, but the superstructure remains the same. And it's upsetting. It's bad. I hate it.
Yeah, it didn't even feel like it done in a clever way, like they were like pointing it out. No, it was the one Indian character of the show who, you know,
who like I didn't look into it, but the they have one Native American character in there. It sounded like one of the regular voice cast. I doubt they got anyone in. I didn't look into it. I don't know for sure.
No guest stars for this episode.
Hell's bells.
Nick, what's something about this episode stands out to you for better or worse?
It's definitely in the worst column, and it's when Bart and Milhouse break into the Flanders house because for some reason they care. So Bart and Milhouse, to cure their boredom, tie a string around a fly. The fly goes in through a window at the Flanders house. For some reason, they care.
It's all very spurious.
It is not signposted as to why they give a fuck about where the fly is. So they go into the house. And while they're in there, Bart finds a photo it's a family photo of The Simpsons, and it says, bless our neighbors. And Bart's like, haha, that's so gay. I don't think Bart knows what gay means. And either little Bart doesn't know what gay means.
Little buddy boy.
Or the writers are deliberately saying that it's bad to be gay. Not keen on either of those interpretations, really.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I mean, I barely even know how to comment on this episode, to tell you the goddamn truth.
There is just so little to latch onto this episode. Like, there's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was just on TV. Like, I was watching it, but I barely felt like I was watching it.
Except, James, the things that I find very concerning are there are two direct, like, intravenous level link-ups with our podcast.
Yes, Pods in the Key at Springfield. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. 5 stars, baby.
Yeah, so firstly, we find out that Ned's a huge fucking Beatles nerd.
Yeah.
Which is an astonishing link to our thing, because we've been talking about the Beatles on our Simpsons podcast for a very long time, so it's a nice little crossover.
You can go and listen to our episode about the album Revolver if that's the thing you want to do.
That's the thing you want to do. And yeah,
it's almost like I intentionally picked this episode for a couple of Beatles fans.
Yeah, nearly.
But then an even stranger link, which I'm not sure that you did on purpose, maybe you did. We've got a running joke of this little voice thing we do of, Papa.
We like to imagine for some reason that there's a little boy out there somewhere who will only get blood transfusions if Nick has enough notes on the... It's hard to describe.
I'm not sure what the provenance of that character is, but the fact that on 2 occasions, 2 scenes in which Nelson turns to a tree, which he is imagining is his father, and says, Papa? Fucking terrifying.
In the exact cadence as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably where we got the voice from, but I didn't remember it being this episode. I have seen this episode before.
I'm not sure that I ever have. I mean, yeah, it may have been a subconscious pull from you, but it definitely wasn't from me. I found the whole thing slightly concerning that we and our podcast is deeply imbued into a very problematic episode of little-known sitcom The Simpsons.
That your life is just so ingrained with The Simpsons that all of your cultural touchstones are based on episodes you don't even remember anymore.
Yeah.
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 What is art, though, really?
What was a moment for better or worse that stood out to you, Elliot J. O'Neill?
Tying into the next question as well, like play count, how many times have you seen this one before? May as well.
I think it's 0.
Yeah, first time.
I do not recall any element of this episode, even though it's 2003, which
even all the Beatles stuff.
Yeah. And even though I was still watching The Simpsons then, I do not recall any element of this episode as being familiar.
Oh, wow. James?
I've definitely seen it before, but it can't be more than 2, maybe 3 times. I don't know. It's like I feel like I've watched it maybe intentionally once, and then it's been on in the background in other situations throughout my life, maybe.
Yeah, well, this is like one of the last ones that I remember videotaping, and so I've actually seen this quite a few times. And I
You
remember
sat there with your camcorder pointed at the TV.
Oh, yeah.
You sent it into Australia's Funniest Home Videos.
watch out for your hat, lady. And then
You
the
got
hat blows
laughs
off.
from coast to
So
coast.
funny.
Thuffer and Thuckatash.
Should make you smile.
Australia.
Australia.
Bum, ba, bum.
Yeah, so I've actually seen this a good dozen times, I'd say. And I remember at the time being excited because all the commercials were like, they're going to do a big Beatles thing. And like me being a massive Beatles fan, especially at this time, I would have been in high school at the time. And this is like when my Beatle mania kicked off for me. And so I was really excited for all the references. So like I watched this episode quite a bit, but mostly for the Beatles stuff. And
there's really not that much in there. It's
No.
like, hey, we got 4 gags. We'll have Millhouse read the names on these cans. My precious antique cans. Look what you've done to them. It's bad. It's a bad episode and I hate it. Let's end this podcast now.
But yeah, what stands out to me is all the Beatles stuff. And, you know, if you look in the background, there is some loving detail where they've pretty much drawn all the records exactly, not even Simpsonized them. And there's, you know, a few nods to Beatles stuff like the Ed Sullivan suits and all that stuff. But like on this watch, I just realized how hollow it actually is.
Yeah.
And how little it actually makes sense for Flanders, of all people.
Yeah,
to
we
be.
get a little scene of Millhouse kissing Yoko Ono, which is weird because he's a little boy. He's just a little boy, Elliot.
Yeah. And yeah, it was something I was reading and doing my research that Bart and Millhouse drink the 2 cans that were the Beatles, the dead ones.
He's saying they're drinking 2 cans.
2 cans ham. 2 cows, that very early internet site where you'd go and download programs. Like you go download Winamp from 2 cows.
No, I was referring Fruity Loops, the very early internet dance music making program.
Oh, yeah, Fruity Loops.
One of the original creators of Cereal.
Yes,
Fruity Loops,
yes. Linking back to Old Mate Brand.
Yes.
Bram Stoker.
Yes.
I want to suck your feet.
What?
So yeah, look, I mean, as a stupid, dumb teenager, I watched this episode quite a bit, and like, I'm like, wow, what a stupid, dumb teenager.
Yeah, right. Especially because there's one part where Bart references some, I Am the Walrus lyrics, I reckon.
Cuckoo, kajoob.
Yellow matter custard dripping out of Dad's dog's eye.
And it's so fucking pedestrian. It's such a pedestrian reference because he starts tripping off the bad soda and then just says some lyrics while tripping out of it.
It's so pedestrian that it's crossing Abbey Road.
Oh,
Peace and love, peace and love.
I see what you did there. Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Someone sent me an
image?
It was an image. Thank you. Someone sent me an image the other day. It was one of those things where I was like, fuck, how have I never made that connection? It was the Abbey Road picture, and there's a white Volkswagen that's parked on a curb behind them, and they had an arrow pointing to it, and it said the 5th Beatle, because it was a Volkswagen Beetle. And I was like, fuck, how have I never made that connection before?
Oh, that's good.
That's very good.
The last thing I wanted to say about this, it felt like, the writers actually didn't have much of an affinity with the Beatles, but the animators clearly
Yeah,
did.
interesting.
Because why?
Well, because
Flanders
you
of
can't
all
like
fucking
get the
people?
rights to the Beatles songs without spending a lot of money. It comes across as
Yeah.
and they've already done like 3 tributes to the Beatles throughout the run of the show. It's weird to
And there's a
have
weird
this heartless one here.
And there's a weird joke about Michael Jackson owning all the Beatles music where Homer just says like, oh, now I'm being Michael Jackson. Hey, I don't know your music. It's fucking... What was going on in the writer's room for this episode?
Makes it a particularly bad time to watch this episode.
Yes, it does.
All things considered.
Yeah.
Now that we have all officially left Neverland, I think it's...
Yeah, fuck. Not looking forward to covering that episode in the future.
well,
Might
if
leave it
you
for a
even
while.
can, now that
Yeah.
they're taking it out of the rotation.
So what were some of the wacky things about this episode? Cartoony elements and
God.
such.
I've got a slightly wacky thing that I saw. So there's
You are Captain Wacky, after all.
Thank you. There's a captain. There's a newspaper we see where the headline is like cavalry kids do something or other. But the second inset article, the headline is President shoots wife.
What?
No shit.
You guys were both writing
Oh,
notes.
was
while
that a flash forward to what's about to happen?
Possibly. I looked over at the both of you and I'm like, neither of them clocked that. I'm going to keep that under my hat until the recording. President shoots wife. That's fairly wacky. Except, you know what? In 2019, I wouldn't be that surprised.
I don't know if his hands are capable of firing a gun.
Tiny little hands.
It'd have to be like one of those Derringers or whatever.
Hey, Donald Trump. Fuck you cunt.
All right,
Can I say cunt on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Someone,
As long as I'm referring to Donald Trump.
yeah, because that's the running joke on Pods in the Key of Springfield. We've used that word twice, and both times it's been in reference to Trump. A third time it was not in reference to Trump, and so we bleeped it.
And we just said it on that episode we just recorded earlier. I might bleep that, though.
Did we?
I was quoting Magnolia.
Oh, Magnolia.
Magnolia. Pods in the key of Springfield. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
A Magnolia podcast.
Soon.
All right.
If I have my way.
So the fight that breaks out at the baseball stadium as well, was there anything that you liked in that?
I kind of like Dredrick Tatum about to beat up Mo, and Mo's like, yeah, I'm Mo. What's going on over here?
Yeah.
Which is...
How did I get myself in this situation?
Yes.
Oh, I'm Mo over here. That's my Mo.
Yeah. Yeah, the fight was fine. I did enjoy someone tackles Homer. Is it Luann's boyfriend tackles Homer?
Possibly.
Oh, yeah. Don't
So-
beat up my girlfriend's
don't beat
ex-husband.
up my wife's ex-husband over here.
Yeah.
So whoever that guy's name is,
Pyro or Gyro.
he tackles Homer, and then Barney comes and tackles the other guy off Homer, and I like that. I like that Barney was there going, "Hey, don't beat up my friend."
Yeah. But then
God, we
it's like,
really are like the Millhouse in the box factory, hoping there'll be candy in one of the boxes. Just these reaches
There's not
we have
can-
to make to find something.
Yeah, there's not candy in any of these boxes.
So, we're talking about in the last episode about Marge's agency and, like, how do you like her sort of uniting everybody with her crying at the end of this?
I don't care for it. Don't care for any of this. I don't know. It's just like, it's nothing. There's nothing here. There's nothing, Elliot. How do you do this every week?
But then, yeah, the crying at the end felt very, very weird to me.
I mean, there's something I like about them recognize that singing the American national anthem is, I mean, it's very, like, a lot of violent imagery in it. So let's sing something more peaceful like the national anthem of Canada.
They should have sung something from the Beatles.
Yeah. Why not?
Something in the way where the Beatles.
Surely All You Need Is Love would have been a nice tie-up for that. But very good. All we need is Norm. But fucking also the parody anthem that Bart and his little boys sing.
So
I don't know about anthem.
Thick. Sorry.
They could have killed like 7 minutes. It would have been great.
The parody anthem that Bart and his little boys sing.
boys.
Maybe that would have been funny if I could have understood a fucking
Yeah, I
word of
couldn't
it.
really understand
it.
it.
Was mixed so poorly.
You've got like Database as one of the kids there with an infamously bad voice.
Yeah. And just four,
Nelson Ralph, he's very high pitched. It's very hard to understand.
yeah, 4 little boys all singing in not quite unison.
Possibly all voiced by Nancy Cartwright
Yeah,
as well.
it's just 4
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and find the parody lyrics that they did sing because, like, that's the thing with a good parody. You want to be distinct with your words
Yeah, I
and
mean,
stuff.
a parody is nothing if you don't understand the words.
Yeah.
Because guess what the parody is, Elliot? It's the words.
Yeah. Do you think-
Elliot, do you ever watch these episodes and get kind of like angry about or annoyed by how angry you are over them? As I'm sitting here thinking, I should not be this angry. It's a cartoon, but I'm quite worked up about how much I hated this episode.
Oh, no, and I brought it, like, because I haven't seen this one in years, and I brought this one with the intention that, this will be going a little easier on you guys.
I mean, at least Ricky Gervais wasn't in it, I guess. Ooh, look at me. I'm wearing a headdress. Have I offended you? Yeah. Ooh.
I probably wouldn't be allowed into Coachella, yeah? I did have a note here saying Homer wouldn't be allowed into Coachella, but
So the parody lyrics were, "Oh say can you see, back in row double Z, that the team sucks out loud and your fans are all plowed."
Who the fuck was responsible for that?
hang on a second.
Maybe I could hear it.
Hang on a second.
And I just-
when baseball teams are bad, do they suck out loud? What a bizarre insult. Hey,
Yeah.
not only do you suck out loud. What? And the fans are all plowed, meaning drunk, I assume.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ooh, say, can you see? I'm an atheist. It's me.
Ricky.
No. Fuck Ricky Gervais out of this podcast. He's not in this podcast. We're not talking to Ricky Gervais.
Nick, are you offended?
Oh, God.
No, it's okay. I get it.
You
I'm sorry.
got Ricky.
He's bloody...
Nobody's safe.
He's bloody got me.
I like you've been tweeting at Ricky Gervais because you made that poster about him fucking a dog.
I don't know, just the way he's like on the poster and he's like looking wistfully. There's just something funny to me about Ricky Gervais in a Netflix special. Fucks this dog.
I enjoyed because I didn't know that was a Netflix thing that was happening. So,
Oh, right.
So I just get a message from you at some point that it is the Photoshop you've done. Ricky Gervais fucks his dog, and you just and your caption is too much? Question mark. I'm like, sorry, what's happening? Is this a real thing? If it's a real thing, I suspect it's too much.
Is this like, a new version of that first episode of Black Mirror.
All right, everyone, let's go fuck this dog.
A lot of people have been asking, where's Poochie? Well, let me fucking show you, yeah?
Anyway, so speaking of offense, so the other thing, you got to unpack is the whole preteen Braves thing, and like,
Yep.
got to tread delicately. But the main point I want to raise is, can you imagine if this was like an Australian thing where there was like a scout troop based around
Indigenous culture.
Yeah.
Yep. And shamelessly aping and mocking Indigenous culture. Yeah, that'd be fairly awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like not good. And I feel like it's the kind of thing that was... It shouldn't have been unchecked in 2003, but it was heaps more unchecked than it is now.
Yeah.
And look, whether it falls into the same category as like the Nazi Warner Brother cartoons that show... I mean, but they were showing Hitler in a very bad light, obviously. But, you know, these weird little relics of the past, definitely not great. Should they be in current rotation? I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff in this episode that probably people wouldn't have thought about that much. I mean, white people wouldn't have thought about that much when this episode came out.
That's a good point.
And look, maybe that is more of a thing in America where they are like doing these troops. That maybe it's just a thing that they were commenting on. But yeah, to have that one throwaway line from Apu like really didn't justify it.
But there's also another throwaway line from Marge that indicates that Native Americans like sit around watching TV and drink all day,
Yeah.
which is bad.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially coming from... I mean, bad, but especially coming from Marge.
Well, it's framed as a way, like Marge saying, "Oh, Native Americans don't do this," but it's meant to be, ironic.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
clearly framed that way because
Yeah.
it cuts to the next scene. Like that is its own punchline.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad.
So how about the heart of this episode?
Was there any?
I mean, I think the writers think there is. I think they think like Marge crying at the end it counts as heart.
Yeah.
But like whether or not Marge is a good troop leader is never the conflict of this episode. It's taken as a given that she's better at it than Homer. And then I'm just so distracted by the racism that like that plotline doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Like that should not be what this episode is about if you're going to do this plotline.
I actually think biggest contender for heart in this episode is when Wiggum says to Flanders, "Are you going to press charges against Bart and Milhouse?" And he says, "No."
Well, it says that the courts are only good for telling women what to do with their bodies,
Oh,
which
that's
is
all. Yeah.
close to a joke.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I kind of like I see the idea there is like
I take that as a commentary.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
And Flanders had another shitty line was, the boys went all Yoko and broke up my Beatles collection or whatever. And it's like, fuck you. The whole, like...
Peace and love, peace and love.
I hate the whole Yoko joke, man. Like,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, she probably inspired some of my favorite fucking Beatles songs. Like,
Number 9. Number 9.
it's not without its charm. But no, like, I mean, fucking happiness is a warm gun and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Bang, bang, shoot, shoot. Skate, skate.
On fleek.
Yes.
dab.
Jesus Christ.
Great
Are we the
translation.
least cool trio of people on Earth?
Yes.
Let us know in the comments section. So ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
It felt like a very clumsy, ham-fisted episode of The Simpsons.
It didn't really feel like anything.
Yeah, the show as a whole sort of feels off, but like individual character integrity, were there any like serious breaks or anything?
I just feel like if I had dreamed this episode, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yes.
It makes sense that this was not actually written by anyone.
I can't decide whether it's in or out of Bart's character to go, oh, I'm in someone's house unsupervised, I'll just fucking trash the place.
Bart's a bit of a sociopath in this one.
Yeah.
Like right at the start when Milhouse says, can bugs feel pain? I'm Milhouse. And Bart says, if they can't, I've wasted years of my life. Like, I don't like that.
Which one's Bart?
He's the little rapscallion.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little
Cool.
boy.
Cool.
He wears the little shorts.
Oh, the little shorts. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not convinced about the destruction of Flanders' house because it seems too far for little prankster mischievous Bart to just be outright destructive like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he has destructive turns, but there's normally some
Less
retribution.
malice to it, I think, than we
Yeah.
get
I don't
in
know,
this
like
one.
going through and eating their food and then like trying to make peanut butter and messing up the
Yeah, I
kitchen.
guess-
That sort of feels on point.
Yeah, I guess that's
But
not
even
too
like,
bad.
I don't know, like purposely leaving the top off the blender so shit will fly everywhere. Like, I think, Bart likes to, be mischievous, but I don't know if he likes to hurt people necessarily.
I do still like Milhouse playing with the lamp, though, going bright, brighter, brightest off, and that's something that stuck
Well,
with
that's
me.
because you're a big fan of Netflix's Bright, and you're hoping for sequels called Brighter and Brightest.
And
Was
then
that the fucking...
then
what's
turning
that
it off.
asshole's name?
Yeah, Max Landis, yeah.
Oh, fuck that
And
guy
directed
so
by,
much.
what's his face? The guy who did Suicide Squad, David Ayer.
Jesus.
And End of Watch, which is a much better movie.
Yes or no, would you watch this one again?
No.
no.
All right. Fuck
Which is annoying because then we don't get to put it into a playlist. And I wanted to put it into the brick containing notes through Windows playlist, but in this instance, the brick was Ralph.
Oh, yeah.
Just because the last episode also had bricks through Windows containing notes.
Bad Ralph episode, I think.
Bad Ralph
They
episode.
simplify Ralph too much. There's no person behind those dead eyes.
He thinks the wolf is his mother, and...
Just trying to decide if there's a wolf mother joke worth making. There's not.
Woman!
You're a woman. You are a woman. The song's about a woman.
My favorite Wolf Mother thing is that there was an interview like 15 years ago where they said to Andrew Stockdale, I think his name is.
Correct.
Why do I have that in the back of my head?
She's a woman, you know what I mean.
They-
No, what do you mean?
they said to him, so clearly Led Zeppelin was a big influence on you. He was like, why? Why would you ask that? Well, it seems that your music is, on what basis do you think my music... It's like, dude, you sound like a Led Zeppelin cover band.
I'm thinking about that song now. She's a woman, you know what I mean. You better listen to me. I'm going to set you free. Those are troubling lyrics.
I also find it weird that Joker and the Thief is still used as like ad music for stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it is such like a RAV4 song.
Oh, that is the perfect genre-defining title for that type of song. That is an absolute RAV4.
It's like a song aimed at dads who haven't thought anything in 12 years.
Dad 4. We're the Dad 4. My name's Dad George and I play the dad guitar. Surely there's a bunch of... there's 4 slovenly chaps somewhere
Daddy Ringo.
called the Dad 4 instead of the Fab 4.
Oh, man, that is such a sad cover band, right?
Yeah, right?
Because I'm the dad man. Yeah, I'm the dad man.
I'm a dad, you know what I mean. See, told you, constantly having to steer this thing back on course.
No, you don't. Just keep it off course. It's fine.
It's a
Steady
pretty...
as she
Just
goes.
run it into the wall.
It's a pretty terrible course, though. So,
Oh, for real.
as in this episode, not this podcast. This podcast is lovely.
Oh, thank you.
He's so daddy.
Fucking hell.
James, what would you change?
Okay, I think fundamentally, if you're going to keep the basic plotline of this episode, it needs to be about the preteen Graves realizing that what they're doing is not cool. It
Yeah.
needs to be about, like, reckoning with the fact that this episode is about cultural appropriation. And for a moment, it seems like they might be leaning that direction when they go and meet the Native American. But even, like, the portrayal is so cliched. Like, often portrayals of Native Americans, like, the only personality trait they're given is that they like the earth to be clean.
Yeah.
And that's so simplified, and, you know, it's reducing a group of people down to a cliche, and the episode just does not reckon or recognize its own racism at all. And it should be, like, about that. Like, I think you can make an episode about the fact that organizations like this do exist and that cultural reappropriation is rampant and that there are, like, actual real problems with doing this and the way it marginalizes groups, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And it could, but it doesn't.
Yeah, fully. Nick?
On Penny Lane, there is a barber showing photo dads. I realised I needed something to add to the Dad 4 conversation. Sorry, what was the question? Is this final notes?
No, not yet.
Oh.
Well, what would you change?
Oh,
How would you rewrite this fuckfire?
Jesus.
Fuck fire. Have you been watching my YouTube channel?
Man, I'm really excited for the Fuckfire Fest. I've heard it's going to be really good. Gourmet meals.
This fuck is on fire. Sorry.
Oh, your fuck is on fire.
Come
No,
on, baby, fuck my fire.
No. Enough. Baby, you're a fire. Fuck.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
No.
We didn't fuck the fire.
It's
No,
always
we didn't light it, but we tried to fuck it.
I'm the fire fucker. Twisted fire fucker.
outstanding. Anyway, what on earth was I...
How would you fix the episode?
How would I fix the episode? I don't know. Put it all in the bin?
Yeah. Is this a teardown?
I think it's a teardown.
Total teardown.
We didn't fuck the fire.
Yeah, no, I honestly have no idea of how to fix it. It's just put it in the bin.
And as for what I changed, yeah, I think it's actually, James, you brought it up, that they've done like 3 Beatles episodes, or at least referencing the Beatles, especially Homer's Barbershop Quartet. Like, while I would have liked to have an episode that sort of centered around the Beatles, I thought this one was just so lazily put together with no thought. And even Flanders going, of course I like the Beatles, they're bigger than Jesus. It just makes no goddamn sense to me.
Yeah.
But the idea of Bart and Milhouse being punished and separated into different scout troops and then, like, competing for the big single
I'd
national anthem.
forgotten there was even a link between those 2 plots. I feel like it's just not that important in the... When, like, Milhouse comes back in and, like, I'd kind of forgotten, oh, yeah, they get separated at the start. They're not meant to see each other anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing about Flanders liking the Beatles not making any sense, I don't know if you remember, but we discover that room as Bart and Milhouse are hurtling towards a door that says keep out, something about the fear of God or whatever.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it make more sense for Ned to shamefully like the Beatles? And he's like, yeah, well, no one was supposed to know about this, but now the boys broke into the room. That'd make so much more sense as opposed to, yeah, it doesn't fit with a single beat of my character, but I guess I'm just going to stand here and happily embrace the fact. Like, clearly he's a big fan. Would have made so much more sense if it was an illicit love.
Yeah, totally kept hidden and away from, like my Amiibo collection, which is...
Look, I've got a big Amiibo collection.
Like, you do too, yeah.
Anytime, like, if I start dating someone and they come around my house, I'm just, like, in the back of my head think, fuck, how's this going to go? It's never been a problem, but it's always a concern.
Yeah.
There'll always be at some point, like, so what's going on over here? I'm like, just don't worry about it. It's just who I am.
Well, I recently I bought a shelving unit for the purpose of housing my Amiibos because they were just sort of sitting in the closet gathering dust.
Yep.
No, present them. I'm like, oh my God, I just bought furniture to house this fucking thing.
They look good, though.
They do.
They're good figurines.
Oh, they're so well built. You got King K. Rool now?
No, I've stopped. I've got enough.
Oh, you drew the line?
I drew the line.
Oh, but he looks so sassy and he's got that big golden belly. He's like, "Arr."
Yeah, I mean, that one looks really good. But I don't know. I feel like I can't jump back on that
Sorry,
train.
you're an addict and I'm telling you how fucking awesome heroin is.
Do either of you have...
Do you have any heroin?
Do either of you have Danky Kang?
I've got some Danky Kang.
Or perhaps...
I gotta bear that Dank Kang if you need it.
Perhaps Waluigi?
I've got a Waluigi. He sits on my computer. He watches me as I work.
Nice.
I got like Waluigi and Luigi standing next to each other like odd coupling. This guy.
Oh, the fucking old man.
The original Odd Couple.
Yeah. James, any other notes?
Okay, here are a selection of some of the notes I've written. One just says, erg. That was fairly early on. Another says, this doesn't matter, which I stand by. Have not laughed yet. That's quite far down page 1.
Yeah.
Right near the bottom, I've got, oh no, appropriation, followed by, oh no, racism.
Yep.
I turned over the page. It says, this episode is racist. I've got one that just says, this isn't funny. And then that got me thinking about that John Mulaney bit where he's talking about pitching jokes to Keith Richards and Keith Richards pointing at him and saying, not funny. That's, so, I started thinking about that. I've got one here that says, database can eat my shit, which, yes.
Take that, database.
And I've got a line from Lenny here that I kind of liked where he said, show some respect. My dad died in some war. And those are my notes.
Nick, any other notes?
All my notes have been crossed out because I mentioned them or mentioned and then not crossed out. So, no. I'll just cross out my final 2 to be...
Because that's what you do.
Now I'm a completionist. They're all crossed out.
Oh,
There was a pen drop.
Oh, yeah, because I have final notes ready.
Da-na-na-na.
It's the final notes now.
Nice. This episode, me and Beach, we did a demo version of this podcast and we thought we'll just test the waters, see how it goes, if this can be a thing.
Sure.
And yeah, this was the Teens Era episode that we picked for it.
Oh, no.
We never ended up releasing this podcast because it's around this episode that we get horribly drunk, and I never even found the recordings. We just assumed that it was unusable, and then a couple of weeks ago I found them.
Right.
They're still unusable because only one mic was recording.
Oh, good. Classic podcast demo stuff.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll release it, but yeah.
Put that one out on vinyl.
fucking Chief Wiggum's extended bit about hijinks.
Yeah.
What an act break.
One of those jokes where, and there's a few of these, where the writers, it's such a self-indulgent joke to go like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we took this unfunny point and labored it for ages? It's like, no, just move on. Actually, no, I'll tell you what I call that. That is a writing room writer's joke.
Yeah.
Because the word would have come up, there would have been a back and forth about it, and they go, oh, that's gold. We should write that down. No.
Ooh, that's gold, baby.
That's gold.
Ooh.
Says the guy who's done about 900 hours of talking into a microphone and recorded everything.
And not just today.
Yeah, kind of feels like it.
With one more to go. We get another appearance from Dave Shutton.
Who?
Oh, the reporter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
I like his pitch for the article, though. I got the perfect headline. Activity participated in by some.
It just made me.
That's a joke.
It just made me wanted. It made me one of the John Lovett's play enjoyed by all.
Oh.
But then I do enjoy that
Another triumph.
when Marge drives all the kids in the station wagon to do the thing, he gets out of the station wagon. Surely Dave Shutton could have afforded his own mode of transport.
I don't know, being a journalist is pretty tough.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Was it any easier in 2003?
I mean, I could barely... I'm flying to Sydney next week for a fucking award I got nominated for. I could barely afford the flights. You know, it's tough. It's tough out there.
Yeah, belly for the... Yeah, it's a good point. It's tough.
It's tough. Ooh.
Let's rank this fucking thing.
Fuck.
It's Nick's turn to kick it off.
I think given all the problematic stuff about the racism and the homophobia, it's going to have to be a big old failure.
And James?
I could have justified participant if it wasn't racist, but it is, so it's a fail.
Yeah, I'm surprised, man. Like, I thought this one would be, like, at worst a participant, maybe even edging a bronze, but...
You're giving it a silver.
yeah, like...
I just agree with its philosophies.
No, I mean, I'm a stupid idiot for watching it so many times in my youth, and there's fucking very little funny jokes, and the story is batshit bullshit crap fuck, and I don't like it.
Batshit bullshit crap fuck.
I wouldn't necessarily say that you're a stupid idiot for watching it in your youth, because I do think that a lot of these issues have become much more in the zeitgeist of what white
for
people
sure.
are aware of in recent years. So, you know what? If I remembered this episode from my childhood, I probably would have been heaps into it because of the Beatles stuff too. So,
Yeah.
But you're right, it does not stack up.
Cuckoo.
Man, I can't believe it. Yeah, I went with the goal of not bringing you guys a failure, but we are giving this one a unanimous failure.
And that means
we
we're
are
giving it
this episode the index finger. This will officially
Fuck
be
you.
our earliest unanimous failure.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Previous earliest was season 16's Future Drama, where they do like
Ooh.
one of the time hop episodes and Homer and Marge are divorced and Homer's living under the sea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
And we'll be joining the other unanimous failures that we've reviewed together, like Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife, the Ricky Gervais episode.
Did you know he's an atheist?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how offensive.
I know.
The Old Blue Mare, She Ain't What She Used to Be.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Sebastian Cobb. He shouldn't have stopped that haircut. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Monorail Redux. And Camp Krustia, the one where Homer fucks.
Oh, did we fail that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember you being like on the bordering edge.
Nearly gave that participant, yes.
Yeah, but it is just fucking insane. Okay, we've done the War of Art, we've done the Bart of War, and now it's time to do another one that has a similar name.
All right.
Woo.
Warhorse. The Steven Spielberg movie.
The four warsmen of the apocalypse.
We're going to
You
go...
gotta go to war, Billy. Not without my horse. It's basically the plot of that film, I think.
We're reviewing the War of the Simpsons. We'll be back.
Ellen, and Daddy picks up the dads in a church where a wedding has been.
Lives in a dream, all alone on their war horses. Where do they all belong? On the front line.
Special guest appearance by Barry White. I love the sexy slither of a war horse.
I love the sexy clopping of a beautiful war horse.
And we are back, and we just watched our classic and final episode of the evening. This was Season 2, Episode 20, The War of the Simpsons.
The Queen of the Harpies.
Queen of the Harpies.
No, I'm not. First released in May of 1991. Good year for palindromes. Directed by Mark Kirtland. Written by everyone's favourite John Swartzwelder. In this episode, oh come on, are you kidding me? You know this one. This is the one where Homer gets drunk at the party that the Simpsons are having, and so they go on a marriage-saving retreat, and Homer gets obsessed with catching a massive catfish. General Sherman. Guys, what did you think?
Catfish.
Fish. It's so thick. My first note on this just says, remember 1991 with a question mark? Even though I was too young in 1991 to remember it, I get real like early 90s vibes from this episode. It feels like that time period, and I like it. It's like stepping into a warm bath.
It is a good episode.
Yes.
I
End of
approve.
podcast.
I approve of it.
Yeah, it's nice and warm and fuzzy, and there are some things that I don't think have aged the best. But anyway, let's get into those. Starting with you, Nick. For better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
There's a couple, but I think the one I'm going to pick, because it's perhaps the weirdest one, the trope in American TV of taking everyone's coats and throwing them over a bed in a bedroom.
Yep.
Is that actually a thing that happens?
I think it's a colder climate thing.
Yeah, it must be, because it does not happen in Australia at all. And
Just hold on to your own coat.
And yeah,
You dingus.
It's like the idea of like,
chungus.
Imagine having a party and then you see someone take off their hoodie and you go, "Oh, I'll just put that in my bedroom." They'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I'll just have it on my lap, thanks. Or I'll just put it next to me. Or I'll just throw it in the bin. Maybe not the last one.
I don't see why not. Throw it out the window like a lane with putty.
Oh, did you see that he went to a hockey game and like put like last week, the guy that plays putty did
Patrick Warburton?
Yeah, Patrick Warburton did the Devils paint and went back to a hockey game and did the
did
whole
he?
"We Are the Devils" thing.
Holy shit.
And it's like, oh yeah, that joke from 30 years ago. Nice
that's
one.
right.
Nice one, Tiger. Anyway, so coats in bedrooms is the thing that stood out to me.
Cat in the furnace.
Cat in the furnace.
It's something that I noticed in New York, especially in my travels there, that there is often a coat rack at the front of bars that...
Get a load of this guy's been to New York.
Wow.
So have you.
Big. No, I haven't.
Haven't you?
I've been to Los Angeles.
Oh. That's like the New York of the West Coast.
I see what you've done there. So,
Hey, I'm podcasting here.
so what you're telling me is that if you're fast enough, most bars in New York have free coats.
Yeah.
Nice.
Free coats and free umbrellas.
What about John Coates, former head of the Australian Olympic Committee? How does he fit into all of this?
What a pull.
What about Boots Riley? Head of the coup.
Yeah. God, are there any other clothing celebrities? Trouser Stevens? Or...
Trouser Stevens.
Trouser Stevens.
I'm John Scarf. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
How about
What?
you, James? Is there anything from this episode that stands out to you for better or worse?
Yeah, the one scene that really stood out to me on this viewing is Homer's memory of the party the previous night. The sort of like beautifully colored and animated. Like, I feel like we never see that exact animation style again with the really like thick lines. And just the color scheme and the way it feels like a New Yorker cartoon and
Yeah.
then sort of devolves into this like hyper cartoony, fairly dark reimagining of the night. I really enjoy that sequence. It's really nice. It's something they didn't do a lot, I think, after like the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Something I really enjoy in the shading of the remembered dream sequence is that for a lot of people, like the skin color of their head goes outside the line that is the border of their head.
yeah.
And I really like that as a weird kind of disjointed, it's clearly not a perfect memory.
Yep.
It's a really nice effect. And then, yeah, very dramatic lighting when he starts spinning into the darker reimagining of the party.
And he's
Yeah.
got to slip out of those wet clothes and into a dry martini. Now that's real comedy.
Is that a joke?
Sophisticated comedy.
There's a fly in the guy's drink, but Homer put it there. He slipped it in as a gag.
Hey, James, could you pass me one of those pods? No, not those ones. The ones at the bottom.
Oh,
jeez.
okay.
So what do you guys actually, like, what do you think of that scene? Is that a bit, like, icky?
Oh, yeah, it's mad icky.
I feel like it's appropriately icky though. Like the show is recognizing that Homer's doing something pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's being definitely lecherous. And it may just be a complete reiteration of your point, but the show makes sure that the viewer knows, hey, no one's approving of what Homer's doing.
And yeah, even like Maud, like getting freaked out when he comes to church and already her high button top, she makes an effort to button even further.
Yeah, they reference back to it several times to indicate that it is a fairly serious transgression.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It's also a brilliant line reading by Dan Castellaneta.
Oh, for real.
At the bottom.
Which, a little bit of trivia, the only time that our podcast has been in stereo, the episode where we covered this, because we both did accidentally the ones at the bottom in unison, basically.
Yeah.
And so I split that moment hard pan left and right. So if you listen to that with headphones, it's actually really creepy because it goes from both mono, both in the middle, to just bang for that one line and then back into the middle.
That's really cool.
That doesn't need to go into the broadcast. I just thought I should tell you.
It'll happen.
Pods in the Key of Springfield. Don't forget to subscribe and rate on iTunes.
Now I'm going to swing my mic away so I can eat my second pod.
In the key.
Etc.
Well, yeah, and part of my other goal today was to bring you an episode that you guys had already done because I'm sort of eating into your, like, future catalog. Yeah, I thought it'd be fun for you guys to revisit one that you'd already done and sort of how did it hold up for
In
you?
this weird war-themed little playlist you've got. It was interesting, actually, because I don't know that I've rewatched any episodes since we've recorded about them.
No.
So it's almost like, in some ways, like recording a podcast about an episode before has almost felt like my final word on that episode. And now to like revisit one is an interesting, weird feeling. But I enjoyed it. It's a good episode.
Yeah. It's a profoundly heartfelt episode, and I'm going to say the moment of the story that stands out to me, and I mean, jumping too far ahead, is that final resolution, which, for your podcast earlier today, we watched Secrets of a Successful Marriage. Go check that out in Pods of the Key of Springfield's feed. Links in the description. Yeah, so in that one, we were like a bit iffy on the resolution, the whole, complete and utter dependence thing. But this one, like, even though Homer, he's been a shit throughout the party and then at the...
He's so shit. I gotta stop doing that.
Fuck.
Oh, because the whole catfish going a fishing, like, that's like a sort of a weird thing where he sort of stumbled into fighting the fish. But
Yeah, it's a little sweaty.
Yeah. Especially when, like, I've got a note here saying, fishing, no. Walking, yes.
Yeah.
Walking accidentally ends up fishing, no. Like, it's a very clumsy way of getting to the point. Like, if the issue is that he's sneaking out to go fishing, of course he's going to end up fishing if he goes out for a walk. He's still dressed in all his fishing gear.
Yeah.
But she's okay with it. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because he said, "Can I go for a walk?" and she said, "Yeah." But like,
well, he was going to sneak out fishing. That's why he was dressed up in the fishing gear.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
But then you can't sneak out, but yes, you can go for a walk. At which point, surely you're going to end up fishing anyway. Like,
I've always kind of read that as she is going back to sleep essentially, and is just kind of agreeing with whatever he says, having been placated. But that's probably a fairly generous reading.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, the act of Homer, having caught the fish and like, he had a 2-hour plan, which exceeded into 6 hours.
Yep.
And it wasn't until confronted that he threw it back. Like, I think it like ended up being a nice moment. But what about you guys? How do you think I played out?
My thing with this episode has always been, I like all of this stuff happening, but I never quite felt they justified why Homer was so obsessed with catching a large fish. I don't know if he read David Lynch's Catching the Big Fish and came away with some ideas, although that book came out in like 2003, so probably not. You see, the big fish is the big idea that you try to grab onto, Nick. You understand?
I do understand.
Yeah.
Well, apparently John Swartzwelder was at least familiar with Moby Dick and the Old Man in the Sea, which apparently this thing heavily references.
Moby Dick. Jesus, fuck. I've ruined my own life.
Oh my god. Yeah, I've never really got why Homer's so invested in catching the catfish. And it would have been so easy to, and I'm jumping ahead to question 6 here, but it would have been so easy to put, I don't know, whichever the what would you change question, it would have been so easy to put something in the party about how he has no notable achievements. And that's why he's lashing out drinking. Because then catching the fish would have been a perfectly perfunctory notable achievement.
I mean, the problem with that is, like, this episode already hits very close to home. There's this guy drinking so much, wandering around being an idiot. If there's something about him achieving nothing, I'd feel even worse about my life.
You'd feel seen.
Yes, same.
Oh, that's the other thing that sticks out to me. So the whole scene where he's getting drunk and he puts the lampshade on his head, this was sort of like not so much a trope now, but it seemed like a trope like back in the day to
Very
get drunk
90s.
and put a lampshade on you. Is this what lampshading is?
Wait, he's lampshading his own marriage problems? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I mean, jokes aside, like, what is this fucking trope?
Yeah, what is that trope?
Yeah.
It feels very Dharma and Greg to me. What's Dharma and Greg? Which one's Greg?
The guy with the lampshade on his head.
Yeah. That as a shorthand for drunkenness is extraordinarily strange.
Yeah. Just one of those tropey things that just exists so much that you don't question it until you fire up the microphones and the Tascam 4x4 and yeah.
Yeah, I'm 31 years
Tascam
old.
4x4.
And Marge and Homer are meant to be like 34 to 36, I believe.
Yep.
The party they host still looks so adult to me. It looks nothing like the parties I attend. And that's a little worrying on some level.
I started thinking about house parties during this as well. And there was part of me going, oh, it's weird that I haven't been to like a proper roaring house party for ages. And I started questioning, is that just because we're not pieces of shit anymore? Because I feel like they're raging, like, you know, people screaming in the backyard, music playing until 3 a.m. Those kind of house parties are fine when you're 19, because when you're 19, you don't have any world that exists outside of your immediate brain.
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas now, like, I think about in my townhouse, I would never throw like a raging 3 a.m. party there because
God, no.
I would keep up so many people in my neighborhood, not just my direct neighbors, literally most of my neighborhood. So is it that house parties have fallen out of favor, or have we just outgrown them because we're no longer fuckwits?
Well, I guess like this episode is showing like what parties are meant to become after the house party, I suppose. But Home is still treating it like the youthful house party.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I don't have enough lampshades.
Maybe.
But yeah, like the fancy finger food and like the actual like bar where someone's like going to be a bartender.
Yeah, and the cocktail that Ned made, I forget what the ingredients are, but
Fucking like 3.5 shots in that thing.
yeah, and they're all like, one of them was creme de cassis. Like, who's got creme de cassis in their fucking liquor cabinet?
There's also just something inherently a little performative about a party like that, I think.
Yeah.
There's sort of like, again, it feels like a very like 90s adult thing. Maybe, I don't know if it happens as much anymore, or like
We've just
I
gotten
don't know.
more efficient with it. Like with me today, just cracked open a couple of cases, put them in the fridge and put out some Milky Bars and that'll do.
Yeah, are we meant to like not be doing this anymore? We're all in our 30s,
No, I think that's perfect.
all unmarried, no children.
Yay.
Although I do enjoy the little sandwiches you've got over there on the platter that spell out "Enjoy our party snacks."
Yeah.
And I am sorry that Jaika went and changed it to "Boy, our party sucks." But
Something I noticed in the episode
Boy.
as well, no one has eaten those sandwiches all night. Were they too afraid to break up the...
That's the worst when people just won't eat the sandwiches.
I honestly think if you use food to spell out anything, what you are actually spelling out is the inability of people to eat that food, because you don't want to be the one to break the message.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be awful.
I will always happily break the message on a sandwich platter. Not that I've ever seen a sandwich platter that spells anything out, but I would fucking do it.
Message on a platter.
I'd reach out, I'd take out that chicken Caesar, I'd take the egg salad, I'd go all in.
Like, who's spelling things with chicken Caesar?
Chicken Caesar salad sandwich.
Oh,
bro.
right.
Oh, like an egg salad sandwich. Those are the two.
Sorry, just imagining a salad but spelling out things on a platter.
Just on a huge platter. Spelled out in anchovies.
Meanwhile, I'm stuck on just a castaway, turkey with cranberry, message on a platter, yeah.
Play count. How many times before today have you seen this episode?
Upwards of 30, I would imagine.
Yeah, dozens. Who knows? Really?
Yeah, it's got to be in the 50s. I mean, this is like, season 2. This is just...
This
like,
is informative shit.
Yeah, oh, for real. Wackiness of this episode.
Starring Captain Wacky, later renamed Homer. It's, yeah.
Obviously, there's the size of the fish. It is a big old,
It's
big
a
old cartoon
very
fish.
large fish.
Something wacky that I enjoyed is how panicked Homer gets at the binding notion of the sign-up sheet. Like, Marge is just writing her name down to express the interest in going to the marriage retreat, and Homer starts screaming, just like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can probably just put your name down on that form and not rock up. But Homer is very concerned about how binding it is, and I enjoy that.
Maybe the most cartoonish element is the appearance of Hitler in the church.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. There is a man sitting in the church when Homer goes there who is clearly out of Hitler. There can be no question of whether or not this man is Hitler. He kind of looks like, what's his face? Bruno Gaines's version of Hitler in Downfall.
I really wanted you to just say, he really looks like Hitler.
He looks like a Hitler. Did I ever tell you I used to have a silver dollar collection?
Silver Hitler collection.
I could never bring myself to spend one of these. I have sort of a phobia.
Oh, fuck. Outstanding.
He has this halting way of speaking.
This means this guy. This is not my kind of guy.
Another wacky thing is that at the end when we see Bart and Lisa cleaning up the house,
Ah, yes, the whole party.
an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old cannot clean a house.
No.
I'm 32 and I don't have the technique or skill required to clean a
They have
house.
the
There's a
assistance
bit
of...
of an ongoing theme to this episode. Just our general incompetence in our 30s.
Yeah, well,
Do we need to make serious life changes?
this is how The Simpsons has ruined our life.
Elliot,
Yeah.
is this an intervention?
Why have you got that big banner behind me that says, Nick, clean your fucking house? That's a bit weird.
Why are you playing this Jordan Peterson video about the need to clean our bedrooms?
Wait,
I think you've taken it too far.
Wait, what?
That's one of his philosophies.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
Hey, Jordan Peterson, fuck you.
I'm glad my bedroom's dirty. No one's going to confuse me for the epic bacon fedora crowd.
keeping your house dirty to own the alt-right.
Yeah, take that.
I've always had a weird thing with the whole party thing. Like, I don't actually believe Grandpa that he was pretending to cry. Like,
Oh, interesting.
Really?
yeah.
I've always thought he tipped his hand a little too early by laughing when they exit the room. I always thought that was a little bit of a weird setup for the later reveal that he was lying.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy, because Grandpa's normally displayed as being so hopeless and feckless.
A Phoebe.
Yes, a Phoebe. I do enjoy that he is one of my favorite characters from Friends. Phoebe. She was just so random. Well, very good.
Smelly cat.
Very good.
Smelly cat.
Are they feeding you?
They're not actually.
What are they feeding you?
It's been a real problem.
Would you like another pod then?
No.
One just there. You can like and
I'm
subscribe.
okay. I'm
Like and
good.
subscribe to these pods.
Very visual gag. You're pointing at a
I know. I'm pointing
packet
at
of an Australian chocolate.
Australian chocolate.
It's all right. I'll put a link to the image in the episode description.
Excellent. It's good to see Grandpa get some agency back. And Grandpa has a little plan, a little ploy. What the hell am I ploy? And he's going to go through and bloody dupe those kids, dupe them into feeling what he wants them to feel. And I really
Dupe to whoop.
I really like that. What?
Nothing. It's fine.
Bumpty hump?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
It's a low move, though.
Whoopie to scoop.
So it's a bit of a dupe low.
Well, that's the end of this episode of The Simpsons
Oh, we're
Index.
going to have to let go of that one. Wow.
Fuck me.
Well, it's been a long day.
Well, podcasting is cancelled.
Forever.
We've got to go and become real men. It's not okay.
Lovejoy's pink cowboy shirt that he wears at the marriage retreat is sick.
It's a good shirt.
It's a great shirt. Except I feel like if I saw someone wearing that shirt, I'd be like, well, what are you doing not on stage at a wedding in a shitty cover band? But yeah, it looks sick.
Good
Yep.
shirt. Good
shirt.
times.
So some of the other wacky things in this episode, the fly in the ice cube, and I did actually listen to your podcast recently, like mostly to try and avoid going over the same things that you. So here I am doing that exact same thing now.
Here we are.
Yeah, he just leaves that fly in the ice cube thing in his drink.
Yeah, while complaining about its toxicity.
Yeah.
Like, fucking, all right. Maybe we need to check in on Hibbert. Maybe Hibbert's got some issues. He wants that sweet, sweet toxicity.
Of our city.
Yes.
God
you.
damn it. Yeah,
Thank
I've turned
you.
into a jukebox in this episode.
Thank you, Serge.
California. What are we doing?
No, that's not System of a Down.
No, I'm aware.
Oh.
I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers like a week ago.
Yeah.
Possibly 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you enjoyed it?
I got bored midway through and went home and listened to the rest of it from home because I live next to the place it was playing. Fuck. So I just lay on my couch and listened to the second half. It was great.
That's actually not bad.
I was there for P-Funk.
Oh, man, how fucking good was that?
That was great.
Maggot brain. Oh.
I'm not a Chili Peppers fan. And when someone said to me, like, oh, so I assume you went to the Chili Peppers gig. Nah, it's not really my thing. And the response was, really? I thought it was everyone's thing. And I was kind of like, well, no. And what? And
It's not really
no.
my thing either. I just happened to have a free pass to get in. So
Free
I went
pass.
and watched 6 songs, said, I'm going to go home.
Wow.
Yeah. It's good though. It's fun. They played, I don't know, like 4 of their 6 good songs while I was there, and then they played another one once I got home. So
Yeah, the ratio of the new stuff was definitely like. I wish they played some more of their higher energy songs.
I was mostly there to just look at Flea and yell, "Hey, Flea! Remember Back to the Future 2? You played a character called Needles.
Oh, that's right, Needles.
Why did Marty work for a man named Needles? Don't go by the name Needles." You just look around. Who the fuck is?
Man, there was one time when I was at a Tenacious D concert and I was horrendously drunk and I kept yelling out, "Hey, Jack Black, the holiday sucked."
What do you think of Back to the Future 2?
You know that guy Needles? That was
He was played by Flea.
So, big topic. Let's talk about the heart of this episode. Were there any bumps?
Bump.
I think my overwhelming heart moment was the reconciliation of John and Gloria at the marriage retreat. Queen of the Harpies. And then they fall back in love and it's lovely.
I've got a note here that just says John and Gloria fuck. I think they're great. I mean that in the sense of like, oh, this fucks. Like it's
Yeah.
they're great. I love them.
They got it on more than Homer got on with that sandwich earlier in the episode.
I simultaneously enjoy the John and Gloria performance while also loving how cringily amateur play it is, because I feel like all amateur theatre is just a man and a woman shouting at each other, and then in Act 2 they fall back in love with each other.
It's 10 Tennessee Williams. Like Tennessee Williams, but only worth 10 cents.
Oh,
Nice.
fuck, that's really good.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
But also putting on that like faux British accent that's like acting accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Queen of the Harpies.
No, I'm not.
You do a good Gloria.
That's a very good Gloria.
No, I don't.
Oh, maybe not.
That's my heart moment.
Yeah. The heart of the whole resolution, like, yeah, Homer and Marge's reconciliation in the end. Did that pay off for you guys?
Yeah, more or less. I think, like, the setup, like I said, a little sweaty, but I think the actual payoff is there. It works. I think the fact that Homer is actually contrarian and does want to do better means that there is some payoff here. I think it works.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah, it very much does. It feels quintessentially early 90s to me. Like, this is the kind of thing I associate with that period of time, and I associate The Simpsons very heavily with that period of time in general. But like, there's just, I don't know, there's a lot of things in this episode, just like the tropes and the imagery and the...
It's real lampshade on head stuff.
Yeah, the general vibe of like...
General vibe.
Yes, exactly. The party feels very 90s, and the family drama feels like something out of a sitcom from that era. I like this episode. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to comment on the integrity in these like first couple of season episodes because, I mean, they're still building the foundation.
Yeah.
But I still do think we get a good sense of who these characters become, even if they aren't like the most fully fleshed out versions of themselves.
I do think it's interesting to look at the inconsistency in early Ned, because he's both a total teetotaler who goes to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting because he had one blackberry schnapps or whatever it was, but also he will mix ridiculous cocktails and has a bar in his basement where he has beer on tap. Like
PhD in mixology he got.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange inconsistencies with early Ned. So
'Cause the
I don't know
like-
I don't know where Ned falls in this one.
Yeah, like the early version of Ned is like his Christianity is part of his perfectionism. Like he's just, he fits the exact ideal of like what a person is meant to be in that period. And over time, like his Christianity becomes more and more his main feature, and it becomes like a joke rather than
the
just
flanderization.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it.
What? Yeah.
So how about Marge in this episode as well? She's one of the big players.
I think it's a fine Marge episode. It's I guess she's not given a heap to do rather than just sort of be angry. But like the first episode we watched, she is justifiably angry.
Yeah.
And there is actually some follow-up, and even though it does center largely on Homer, she does get to, air her issues with him. There's some resolution where it feels like Homer will try to be better towards her.
I loved Marge airing her issues as well.
Oh, Marge, because I mean, the thing I love about that scene where she goes for hours and hours and hours is that the joke at the end of it is, this is how haggard Julie Kavanagh's voice would be if she had to do Marge for this long. Turns out that's what Julie Kavanagh's voice now sounds like because she's been
Having
doing
to do it for 30
'cause
years.
She's been doing it for that long. But one area where the resolution kind of stumbles for me is that it feels like another very Homer-centric resolution to what was a joint problem between the two of them. Marge's problem was she didn't feel supported and that he was just this, tearaway idiot. And then his solution is, well, I'll throw a fish back and then I'll try not to stuff up again in the future. It doesn't quite solve the entirety of the problem.
At the very least, they do go to some length to sort of explain that there isn't really any issue with Marge and how she's acting. And, there's not really anything for her to work on.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I suppose where I'm getting at is her gripe of, well, your plan was to still sneak out and go fishing, is not cured by him throwing a fish away.
Yeah.
Because there's still an option where he can not take the marriage seriously enough, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think it works as a symbolic gesture, which is really what you have to do in a 20-minute episode of television.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I mean, same with John and Gloria, I don't think all their problems are fixed either. And
I think they're probably good forever. They're going to go home and fuck and everything's going to be good.
Just continuously looking into each other's eyes.
Queen of the Harpies.
No, I'm not. And the other thing I love about the integrity is the knowing nature of Bart and Lisa in this episode. When
Mum and Dad are fighting again.
The car, yeah. Every time I hear that music, it sends a chill down my spine. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big.
Big mood.
Yeah. Yes or no? Would you watch this one again?
Yeah, I will. It'll happen.
Yes.
Inevitably.
Yeah, sure. If you're going to watch this one again, maybe in the context of a playlist, what playlist would you watch this one in?
Are there other episodes with fishing? No, fishing. The general marriage problems playlist, I assume that's a thing.
Yeah.
A lot of episodes where Homer and Marge are like, I have to break up with you. I'm Marge. I'm going to try to do better. I'm Homer. Do.
Homer making a joke about fucking, but it turns out he's eating food.
Yep, sure.
Yes.
He's going to fuck that sandwich early in this episode.
Put it in a playlist with Blinky in terms of chemically deformed fish, because that catfish is very, very, very large.
Yeah, there's something off about the fish in this
Something
show.
off about the fish in this show.
And
The way
that's
that
why Troy McClure wants to fuck them.
I thought you said he sleeps with the fishes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I
alright.
did.
Yeah, let's get into the final stretch.
Final stretch.
Nick, any other notes?
I enjoy that Marge says to Grandpa, "Can you do something?" And he says, "I can. I can dress myself." So he just takes it as a genuine question at its face value of, "Are there things that you can do?"
Yep.
I enjoyed that. Kavner voice I've mentioned. No, done.
How about you, Jackal? Any other notes?
I have just a handful. The old dogs at the bait shop really buy into Homer saying that he's going to catch General Sherman. Like, they believe him for some reason immediately.
Why do they give a fuck?
They're so invested in this.
They don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, they're like, Hachi Machi, he's going to catch the fish.
Some guy.
They're
all-
just so shocked. He's going to attempt this?
I think all this stuff with Bart and Lisa is like good being a kid material. Like, it really, it feels very kiddie. And there's when Bart says to Lisa, in these topsy-turvy times, who's to say what's right or wrong? I feel like that's the thing that I say all the time. This is one of the things that's infected me, that has plagued me, why the show is my forever antagonist, why we had one long shuddering climax. Let's see. I really like the
What?
never mind. The McBain scene where he
yes.
shoots the book by
By
book.
book.
That's good. And I feel like I had one more note.
At last.
My notes are nearly done.
Very good.
Yeah, that was everything.
Time for my final notes.
Elliot's final notes.
So just
My notes are nearly down.
My notes are early yours.
So just from the deleted scenes file, according to the director's commentary, in the couple's retreat, we're also meant to see Edna and Ken Krabappel.
Who's Ken?
Her ex-husband, apparently.
Yeah, right.
But apparently didn't play well in the test reads and
Get
whatever.
together, Ken.
And one of the other couples was meant to be Mr. Burns and a mail-order bride.
Wow.
But they removed it because it, quote, sounded too much like he was married to a prostitute.
Sex worker.
Yep. And another deleted thing in the scripting stage was Moe was originally meant to approach Hibbert and ask him to cure his discoloured feces.
Oh,
Same.
right. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that these things are on the cutting room floor.
That's the kind of shit that I feel like we'd be criticising them for in the new episodes.
Yeah, totally.
It's surprising, like, when you see the deleted scenes from these early seasons, so much like, oh yeah, that would have been bad.
Yeah.
You really edited this well.
Is that maybe the problem with the HD era? They've stopped editing.
I feel like they don't have as much accountability.
It also feels like the scripts they have are only like 14 minutes long.
Yeah.
They need to pat them as is.
Whoa.
There's nothing to cut.
Well,
14 minutes. Whoa.
Whoa.
I think you and BT have mentioned several times that when the animation became easier, the scripts became sloppier.
Yeah.
Because you don't get essentially penalized for making people animate bad stuff.
Yeah.
So now you can just go, oh, whatever, we'll just throw it all at the wall. And that's bad.
No, that's it. It's the Wallace and Gromit effect, I've heard it called. If you're going to spend, 2 years animating, 15 minutes worth of shit, you're going to want to make it a good 15 minutes.
And that's why we have such gems as Crackers Gromit. I've forgotten the crackers.
It's the wrong trousers.
Fuck me.
Oh, me fucking pants.
I've got my wrong pants on.
Have you seen that Parks and Recreation episode where Ben is making the claymation?
Oh, yeah. Stand in the place where
Stand. That was it. I thought that was really good. I compared it to Avatar.
I wept. Yeah, some of Marge's...
Mojas.
Mojas.
Some of the emojis.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Some
Very
of
good
Homer's
movie.
bad habits was blowing his nose on the towel and then putting it back in the middle.
Yeah, that's
Shame.
fairly gross.
Some of these feel like actual gripes that other people have had that from the
God.
writers' room that worked its way in this. Like
Imagine.
when he sleeps,
All
he
the
makes
people?
chewing noises. Wakes up honking noises and kicks me in his sleep, and his toenails are too long and yellow. Ugh. Yeah, that's it. It's time to rank this thing. Jekyll, your turn.
Okay. Thought about this long and hard. It's definitely not cubic. It's not up cubic. I was between gold and silver. I think ultimately I'm going to have to go gold. It's definitely better than the one we watched earlier. It is a classic era. I've seen it so many times that at this point it's just like putting on your favorite coat, you know? It's like,
Sure.
I take it for granted how good this is.
So you have to go to your friend's bedroom to get it out of the bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think emotionally it works. The jokes are really funny. It's got a very nice vibe to it. It feels good. I'm giving it the gold.
Yeah, look, I was really tossing between gold and silver the whole way through, and I am just going to go gold, and I'm just sort of giving it the benefit of the doubt here.
Benefit of the trout. There's a big fish in it.
Fucking hell.
We are so tired.
God damn it.
Oh my God. I should love that. But it hurt.
You're just angry.
It hurt when you said it. No, it's good. You're good.
So yeah, it'd pain me to give it anything less than a gold because I do recognize its brilliance, even though, like, on the whole, it's not nearly as entertaining as a lot of things that I've given gold in the past. But Nick,
I feel such a quiet relief because I think I've become known as someone that just doesn't enjoy things, which is actually a fairly alarming position, even though I'm fairly vocal about how little I enjoy things. I always come into these classics, like the third round of these recordings, and go, oh my God, I'm going to give a lower ranking than everyone else, and everyone's going to hate me for it. Like, I'm going to be the one that drags it down, but I'm going to say
Failure.
I'm going to say gold because I was really worried that you guys were both going to say cubic, and I just couldn't in my heart give it a cubic. So gold.
well, yeah, that will equal a unanimous gold, and it'll join other unanimous golds like A Fish Called Selma, which we reviewed last time we did this thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also Dumbbell Indemnity when Mo dates a Helen Hunt type character.
Oh, yeah.
Was Helen Hunt the one in the documentary about the KFC wrap? Twister?
Fucking.
Hurt your back making that stretch.
Yeah, no, I feel pretty good after that one.
Also, Bart's in A Child and Deep Space Homer. You guys have just recently finished season 5 on your podcast. Do you agree
Yep.
with those sort of rankings for those ones?
Yep, this sounds like good company for that to be in.
Yeah.
Yep. And also Bart the Lover from season 3, which you've expressed was too low for.
That episode fucks. That is a cubic. That is made. I think I gave that best episode of season 3.
Possibly.
Yeah, I really like that episode. I think it's smart, it's funny, it's cool, it's good.
Yep.
According to my list, you gave best episode of season 3 to the Snickers.
God damn it.
That's the only list I have.
All right, we have to get out of here. But before we do, we just like to mention a couple of things that we're into that are outside The Simpsons. Book, TV, movies, video games.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Nick, starting with you, what are you into?
I think I may have said this last time I was on this podcast as well, but the AFL women's competition, and we watched a bit of that while we were eating our food today, and the Crows, which is the team I support, had a huge win, which means they're almost guaranteed, well, they are guaranteed now to go through to the finals, which is very good for me.
Up the Crows.
Can the Crows.
Crows.
Ah.
Yeah.
Cool. Jackal?
Sure. I recently watched the Netflix series Russian Doll, and I had a really good time with that. It's
About a really fast-moving doll.
Yes. It's Natasha Lyonne giving an amazing performance.
Oh, Taylor Leone.
Yeah, whatever. Finally, Natasha Lyonne finally getting like the role she has deserved for a long time. It's one of those sort of like Groundhog Day, Happy Death Day, Edge of Tomorrow sort of structure. You know, she keeps dying and waking up at the same time. And eventually it becomes a bit of like a puzzle box. And it's so fucking smart and well written and cool and interesting. And she's so good in it. I had a really good time with it. I watched it with someone and we both like lost our minds over it. And I've got people messaging me theories now. It's great. I love it.
Oh, good fun. And the thing I'm going to mention is Ape Out. It's a nifty little indie game available now for the Nintendo Switch and other platforms.
Just PC.
Just PC
Switch
and
and
Switch.
PC. Yep.
It's got a really cool art style, and the soundtrack is like jazz drums, and it's got a reactive soundtrack to your movements. And
Yeah, it's procedurally generated. That's the...
Oh, but like semi, because like the starts and ends and some of the middles are the same, but like...
No, it's entirely procedurally generated.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've talked to the PR person. They rang me up and told me about this.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I reviewed it for GameSpot. I gave it a 7. I'm not as big on it as you are.
Well, I mean, as a game, like, I mean, it doesn't stand up to a Legend of Zelda or a Super Mario Brothers 2.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
I just enjoyed the cadence in which you said that. It was like you were making it up. Like, that's a real game, Elliot.
I mean, kind of. That one's a little contentious.
Wow.
But yeah, like as like an indie, like pick it up, put it down, 5-10 minutes at a time sort of experience.
So it's like a dumbbell. It's like a weightlifting thing. You pick it up and put it down.
Pick it
Sure.
up
Yeah, all right.
and just to let it down. No.
What's this?
Fuck. Nothing. It's fine. Ape Out.
You're
It's a video
an ape
game.
that kills scientists, and it's fun. All right, guys, that has been it for episode 122. Let's get out of here. That's been Nick.
Queen of the Harpies.
And that's been Jackal.
Pods in the Key of Springfield. Don't forget to subscribe and just subscribe. Listen to it. Whatever. I don't care. Please listen. It's good.
Oh, yeah. They have a podcast. It's called Pods in the Key of Springfield. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been your host, Elliot J. O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
House.
Hey, dude, we all are dads.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes!
I've got blisters on me, Chungus.
God damn it.
Yep.
I remember when fucking... When Bioshock Infinite came out and people were like, oh, if only Roger Ebert had lived to see this, a game that's truly art. Bad game to start with.
Start with Pac-Man and work your way up.
I mean, I should not get into that.
It's pronounced Pokemon.
Good. I prefer the sequel, Miss Pokemon.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is good.
It's a bit more difficult. What are we talking about again? The Simpsons?
Homer dumping the treadmill in an obvious note to the Simpsons movie that hadn't come out yet. Never mind.
Nah, who cares?
Oh, yeah, I'm just remembering some details about the Simpsons movie and realizing that I'm going to have to watch it
Big
again.
dick full of pig crap.
The big pig crab dick.
So thick.
Fuck, there's a lot of disambiguation on Wikipedia.
Disambiguation.
Disambiguation.
Can't be fucked.
Misappropriation.
Get to fuck.
So I'm here with Pods in the Key of Springfield, and now we are reviewing Pods in the Key of Snickers. Guys, what did you think?
What, of the Snickers? The Snickers pods we're eating?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, they're one of my favorite pods flavors, I think. I'm a big fan of... We ranked chocolate bars at some point on our podcast, didn't we?
We have indeed done that at some point.
I believe Snickers was my number 1 or 2. Oh no, these days I'm leaning heavy on the Kit Kat Chunky. I don't know. I think Snickers was my number one.
I prefer the Kit Kat Chunky.
I fucking knew that was going to happen.
Because it's so thick, or
so thick. But yeah, the Snickers pod's pretty good. I feel like
chicken tonight. Chicken tonight.
Excellent. Fucking hell. I think I prefer them. Wait, are there Twix pods?
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think conceptually they're my favourite. Whether they're my actual favourite, not sure, but conceptually they feel like it.
Because that's just who you are.
It's just who I am.
Just who you are.
Was that an intentional crossover to get the pods for pods?
Yep.
They should have just sung Yellow Submarine.
That we all live in the yellow submarine.
Pods in the key at Springfield.
Papa?